Hello and good evening, League of Legends enjoyers slash watchers. Welcome back to the Victorious Triumph series here in fall 2023. Tonight will be our coverage of the third week of the split. At the end of the night, we will be more than halfway done with the regular season, which feels really silly to say, but here we are. Now, on to your scheduled entertainment for this evening. We have a best of three on the docket between PS Elementary and the Manhattan Project. Both teams tied at 1-1 coming into this matchup. Both squads hoping to secure themselves that second place spot heading into the second half of the season. Without any further ado, my name is Crewman44. Turk is out this week, but fortunately, we do have the delightfully demented Loki stepping in to do some color for us. Loki, how are you doing? How was the commute from Asgard?
I'm doing all right. I kind of crashed down into little maple syrup land over here on the East Coast, hanging out with my moose brethren back in the day.
Very nice,
I'm
very nice.
looking forward to seeing some silly, goofy gameplay in this league, as always.
Of
Uh,
course, of course. As you can see, guys, we are already through the first ban phase here in our Game 1 Champion Select. Does seem like maybe we have a... Is that a missed ban, perhaps, on
yeah,
blue side?
the Manhattan Project doesn't need that ban. That ban, cringe. Get
Ah,
it out of here. We're going for a mulligan.
true. You're right,
And
you're right.
I'm very interested in the Wukong pickup here, though.
Mm. And why are you interested in that Wukong?
He just spins right round like a record, but I don't really see him doing a whole heck of a lot early on in at least this level of play. We're going to be seeing a lot of people playing very, very reserved with Ziggs in the background trying to take all those turrets on the side of the Manhattan Project. Kind of a spicy pick, if you ask me.
Yeah, the Ziggs definitely, I feel like, has been rising a little bit in priority recently, and it's a very thematic pick for the Manhattan Project as well. Just, team name bombs, you get the
Boom.
idea. But yeah, the Wukong pick, I do agree, Loki, is a little bit puzzling because sort of on the other side of the coin, right, where Ziggs has been feeling pretty strong lately, Wukong was nerfed so many times earlier this year when he
Poor
was
monkey.
super meta that he is just really, really weak now, in my opinion. But we'll see what the PSE jungler is going to be able to get done with him. Nocturne looks to be the response.
All right, so would we be leaning into having the Ziggs take on more of an AP carry role to try to cheese out a couple extra plates, or are we gonna see big man Gragas back in the top lane to stroke my heart for a little bit, have a little rub on those strings?
Yeah, definitely. Could go either way. Some string rubbing, I'm sure, will come through regardless. But I feel like Zig's bot actually has been pretty common recently. Obviously, is still a flex. We don't really know just yet, but it'll be interesting to see in the second ban phase where PSE think the Ziggs is going.
Yeah, I would have expected TMP to take the route of picking in their top laner here and just continue to hold on to those flex picks since that's a big strength going into the later stage of the draft. But a Kazakhstan?
Yeah, a little unusual there, a little unorthodox. Maybe just a comfort pick for the side of Riddy here. I'll go ahead and take a quick look at the OPGG, see if I can dig that up
I,
for us.
I'm looking at two potential junglers. That is a hard read if they're banning two at this point. That
That's true. That is
that
very
is a
true.
hard read. Impressive. I agree with the banning of the Ornn though. That had a really decent performance as well as just continuing to pad the stats in the later stages of the game to be able to get that last little push in the team fights that you need. And when you go for a ram jam, everyone's up in the air and you have no clue where you're gonna come back down. Same with Malphite, just really hard champion to really lock in early game. If this is a Gragas top, especially just trying to burst them out early, doesn't really happen. They have a lot of tools to be able to stay on the edges of that and always have a very consistent team fight.
Yeah, definitely. Clearly, the focus for TMP here was to try and ban away some of those safer frontline top laners, which is a little bit surprising, maybe, given the fact that PSE do have the counter pick, but maybe their top laner just tends to look more towards those beefy boys for his strand. What did you say earlier? Strand strumming.
They're strumming the little heartstrings there as it looks like
Whatever's
wait
going on
no
in that.
are they hovering another juggler? Please no. I'm already confused enough as Pantheon, Yasuo are going to be our last picks for the Manhattan Project. So, Yasuo, Ziggs bot lane, maybe? Ziggs Pantheon?
Hmm.
I don't know
That's
which would
a
be
tough one to
scarier.
call. It's definitely I'm thinking Pantheon support, and then
Mm.
my money would probably be on the Ziggs bot, but could easily be the Yasuo as well. We'll just have to wait and see. And for PSC, it looks to be maybe the Aatrox going to be the lock-in on R5 to go into that Graggy boy in the top lane.
Aatrox has been looking strong lately, and pretty easy when you get consistent with it to be able to knock Gragas out of his little hydrated stupor, if you would, as he goes to run on in with the body slam. So that might be a top lane that gets that needs a little nudge in the right direction, and we can see PSE pull away with it early.
Yeah, that could certainly be the case, but Wukong certainly not known, Loki, for his early ganking prowess. So might be a little bit easier said than done to actually set that up, especially into a laner who can be as safe as Gragas, right?
Yeah. But I'm also a little bit worried about this bot lane, seeing that Pantheon at the ready with the Ziggs or with the Yasuo. Either way, that's a lot of kill pressure on a very immobile target to begin with.
No, we should mention that that's the predictions for where the champions are going on the side of TMP are just that, predictions. We still
Yeah.
could see some wacky stuff like Pantheon going into the top lane and Graga supporting, or it could be like the Ziggs Yasuo bot lane that you
Ziggs jungle,
uh,
come on.
tossed out there. Anything could happen. It's tough to call at this point on the side of TMP, but certainly it is a pretty explosive composition, right, in pretty much every sense of the word. So gonna be an exciting game number one, I think. TMP, they do have a little bit of scaling in their back pocket with the Ziggs, once they do get towards that late game. But certainly I think this is a composition where you're going to want to find that early lead to give yourself the best possible chance of success.
Definitely. It's a lot of high kill pressure early, and even though Wukong already won't be ganking a lot early, we'll see at level 6, Nocturne's just going to generally have a lot of map pressure to boot, having the ultimate just to go across the map, it feels like once in a while, popping up out of nowhere into the back pocket of an Ashe, like he never left in the first place. But Vladimir is always spooky, just always a very consistent character. Try to stay together with the team. And that extra damage that the Hemoplague will be giving for their team could be kind of scary. That's a lot of area of effect damage to begin with.
Yeah, definitely. On a lot of melee characters who have the potential to be clumped up, right? So
Yeah.
Vladimir, potential value in this game, extremely high. I do agree. And the other thing as well that I'm just sort of occurring to me as we're looking at these compositions is the fact that for the Manhattan Project, we already spoke about how it's a comp that kind of wants to find this early lead. And the way that they do that, obviously, is they dive. They have all of these champions that have these ultimates where you want to dive forward and try and get onto that back line. But you look across at what PS Elementary have put together here, and the only real backliner that seems like is going to be diveable is the Ashe, right? Like everybody else, Vladimir has the pool, Rakan super slippery, Wukong has the clone. Like it's gonna be, I think, pretty difficult, even in the best of scenarios, for TMP to actually find these picks, these isolated targets that their composition, in theory, excels so much at taking down.
As well as we get into the group stages, Rakan is really hard for this team to keep and engage against in the first place, because he could just be a charming lad and get them running on away. As well as these grand entrances are going to be fairly easy to find a lot of value as we get going.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we do have all of our champions locked in now, Loki, for our players, and it does seem, unless they pull out some last minute swap shenanigans on us, that the Pantheon is in fact going into the top lane to go up against that Aatrox, and we do have Ziggs Gragas as the bot duo. So this is a little bit surprising to me, because if Gragas was going support, I would have expected the Yasuo to be paired up alongside him. But what are your thoughts on the lane assignments over here for TMP?
I mean, that bot lane is just a lot of poke into Not a lot of sustain in this case. I don't see many worlds where we're going to be seeing the Manhattan Project going for a very explosive take on the bot side of the map, but it's going to be a battle of attrition down there for a little bit.
Certainly. It's something that we will have to keep track of because Ash can be a strong laner, of course.
Yeah.
It is, somewhat dependent on the matchup, so it might be difficult to get really aggressive into Ziggs Gragas. I'm not really sure how that would go, but we'll definitely keep track of that through the early game, see if either one of those bot lanes can find any kind of meaningful lead. But overall, Loki, now that we do see our compositions fully formed, do you feel like either squad found themselves at an advantage here in our game one champ selection? Which composition do you prefer overall?
After I see these picks coming in, I definitely am leaning more towards PSE right now. Vladimir is very good at being able to bully Yasuo and being able to keep him from getting too much early pressure. And Aatrox is just a very consistent champion going into another very consistent brawler in the form of that Pantheon on Samanosuke. But I think they could have swapped these picks around and had a very dominant bot lane to be able to try to squish PSE out on side of the Manhattan Project, and they just opted to go a much slower route, it looks like.
All right, so we shall see, guys. Both of these teams, 1-1, hoping to pick up their second win here in week 3 and get themselves into that second place position. PS Elementary with something a little bit more stock standard here for game number 1. It's going to be the side of the Manhattan Project with Dive, with these global ultimates, with this more aggressive, explosive comp that they are going to be hoping to catch their opponents off guard with. On to the Rift, guys, after this short break for game number 1. ladies and gents, on to Summoner's Rift we go for our first game of the night. Manhattan Project on the blue side, PS Elementary on the red.
30 seconds
Loki,
until
any
minions
runes or
spawn.
summoner spells you'd like to point out, as both teams look to have a pretty conservative 5-point opening?
I mean, we're seeing Guardian on the Gragas. I think that is going to be feeding into the fact that this is a very poke-oriented lane.
Okay.
And we were talking earlier about these picks that I don't don't, however you want to put it. It's weird to see Pantheon back in the top lane instead of being a very aggressive lad elsewhere on this
Minions
map.
have spawned.
But I think to be able to play into that very aggressive playstyle that we saw this comp seeming to be queued for, Aftershock could have been the play. Be able to just sit right on top of that Ashe and never be punished.
For the Gragas, the Aftershock?
For the Gragas, yes sir.
Yeah, for the Pantheon top, you know, I actually know a Pantheon top enjoyer. He's a pretty good friend of mine. And, you know, he has been singing its praises recently, but you know, I kind of agree. I'm not sold on the pick. One thing that I think is actually even more surprising than the fact that the Pantheon went top end is the fact that he took the teleport, right, instead of the ignite. I mean, usually most Pantheon players, I feel like they have enough map mobility with the ultimate, with the Grand Starfall, but Sam and Osuke maybe just a little bit worried about you know, taking some bad trades pre-level 6 here and missing out on some XP, because you know, if the Pantheon does fall behind, his game's pretty much over. So
yeah, it's a very scary lane to be playing into. Aatrox has been very good at these earlier stages, but I think they're playing it pretty well as these balls happen.
yeah, level 2 for Seminosuke, gonna get submit down to about 50% as Aatrox does manage to get back underneath the tier 1.
A good little intro trade there, and with that ignite you might see it going a little bit further, but with that very aggressive playstyle in mind, I think press the attack is my go-to pick.
Yeah.
If you're trying to get that snowball rolling, and we're seeing Yasuo force into these very weird bully shots that I think are about to go down.
Very low in the mid lane, but will be able to get away. Our junglers will meet each other in the topside river. We'll spot one another out. Both just level 3. They finish their bot side clears. And I guess just contesting for a potential mid gank there. But both junglers spotted out. Both will back away. Actually going for a little bit of an invade here. Teleport to get Stream Guts' Yasuo back to lane. And this is very cheeky from Riddy right now on the enemy red buff. Bush, actually. His top prodigy has walked right into the trap. The monkey used the warrior trickster, but the fear tether is already on, and both flashes already used. The Q from Nocturne should be coming back up off cooldown. There it is. One more auto, and there she goes. Riddy with the first blood for TMP here in game number 1.
What a cheesy boy. And we saw the tether land just before Top Prodigy could get that clone. That is the worst case scenario for him, as we're going to be seeing the supports just duke it out a little bit for a second. But Vladimir does not have ghosts as he's getting ready to go into these things. That first blood going over to Nocturne, though, that can really get a ball rolling for them, because as we've already discussed, Wukong has not been the greatest lately. He's not quite in that old form we're used to seeing him, so that little bit behind could spell some very nasty things as we get going into the top side pressure.
Yeah, and on the other side of the coin, right, Nocturne getting ahead could be extremely beneficial for TMP. You know, as we've already discussed at some length, this composition is very snowbally. They need to find that early lead and run with it. They are going to take this first game, so Riddy getting that early kill, very nice. Only level 3 still on the Nocturne, so as we get some more levels onto that Ghosty boy, look to see some more plays being made by Riddy.
And in this mid lane, this is just tough for Stream Guts. Going up into a Vladimir, you can get a lot of poke off, you can block a lot with your passive, but there's not a whole hell of a lot you can do, as they'll just continue to sustain their way away. Seminosuke is doing a good job of keeping those large minion waves in his favor to be able to try to poke out submit. But it's going to look awkward. That's a lot of health traded to be able to keep that wave up there for so long, and he's been trading out of it.
Yeah, definitely. Level 6 is coming in pretty soon. That will obviously be much more favorable for the Aatrox in the 1v1. Seminosuke does need to be a little bit careful here. Looks like the Pantheon will back away. We did see a minute ago Top Prodigy on the Wukong getting in there, counter jungling some Kruggies. as his little bit of revenge for getting killed off by Riddy on the red buff. So Wukong a little bit behind, only a couple of camps behind right now is Top Prodigy, still hanging in there, and it's looking like gonna be looking for this first neutral objective now, Loki. Wukong has started up the dragon.
I mean, Wukong is in a really good spot to be able to take this. There's a lot of pressure on from yours sincerely and Pig, but they don't have vision of this dragon.
Oof,
so we just need Demo Nick to hold it together as the world starts to go a little bit dark, and we'll be okay. Since Wukong can take it fairly well, but it looks like he might be getting boxed off of it in a second.
That's true. Yeah, with no bot priority, the Wukong forced to cede control of the objective as Riddy moves in there and looks to be able to steal that one away for TMP. So early game advantages continuing to stack up for the snowball comp.
That's spooky. It's just one slot, but one slot can slip a little bit too far as Stream Guts is still very aggressive in this, does not see Submit lying in wait.
Ooh, Hemoplay comes down, World Ender as well. Both ultimates from the solo winners come through. The tornado is pooled. Stream Guts, though, barely survives on 1 HP. Yasuo gets back underneath the turret and a lot of commitment. That was 3 summoner spells and 2 ultimates from PSE, and they get nothing.
That is not what you want to see when you're on the side of PSC. Yasuo snaking his way away there, but looks like the supports are making a little bit of a rotation. We're going to get a lot of gold and some solo XP onto Ashe for it. That could help their scaling a ton as they just continue to try to stabilize across the map and keep it together. And Staunch at Bleeding, we're playing a team comp that wants to get those first couple of items before things get crazy.
Ooh, close on that grand entrance for Shima. Not quite a cigar, though. This is pretty ambitious from StreamGuts to hang around for so long, but with his support in the mid lane with him, he's feeling pretty safe at the moment, I suppose. So we'll be able to get pretty good shove out on this wave as the jungler even moving over as well. Level 6 now for Riddy on the Nocturne. About half level ahead, it looks like, of Top Prodigy's Wukong.
That's not a happy spot for Wukong. He is going to be a bit of a sad boy, and I'm not sure how I feel about Simonosuke's positioning here. That's terrifying. No vision of the other jungler. Not quite sure where Submit is. This could get spicy.
This is not looking good for the Pantheon right here. He's about to find himself in a 1v2. Still no Cyclone, though, for Top Prodigy. He's going to go in with a Nimbus Strike, but Simonosuke able to get away pretty easily with the Flash.
Just an egg assault here, there, being able to make himself invulnerable to a little bit of damage. Very strong, but look at this, he's forced to reset, and while they do have the teleport, while they do have the ultimate, they might just have to give this Herald. That is 4 members of PSE here with a crystalline arrow coming downtown.
Yeah, Manhattan Project is moving over, though. Paranoia comes through Riddy very, very deep into the backline here, but it is shredding down the health bar of Top Prodigy's. Wukong forced to Warrior Trickster in retreat, Submit on the front lines, but nobody else is going forward. And now the knock up onto 2, the last breath onto the mid laner is an absolute slaughter. It is a bloodbath in the top side jungle as the Manhattan Project rip them apart.
I mean, that's exactly what you want from the side of Manhattan Project. They picked a very aggressive comp, being able to take these early skirmishes, and they want to be able to fight for every single one of these objectives while they still have the advantages and not give PSE any room to get scaling, since that's a terrifying team. If you let that gas off just a little bit, it'll all fall apart for you. And it's a huge gold swing. Being able to see the Nocturne 3-0, got the Stride Breaker, is going to be able to start diving from the back walls very, very easily. Riddy has been showing a very strong performance thus far, and a kill going to the back pocket of Pantheon might be enough to swing this lane in the favor of Simonosuke, even though Submit has done a really good job of sustaining as the crystalline arrow comes in. There's the gank from Top Prodigy for us as a Pig is going to be caught out. The Cyclone is going to go explosive cask, not quite there as the exhaust is rolling out. Pig Moo will be the first to fall, but there goes Demo Nick under the tower and a very low health Shima as things get hairy.
Oh, Loki, where are you in this game right now?
My game crashed, so I am in a weird spot. Hold on.
What the heck? I'm at 10 minutes, 10 seconds? And that's, I think I'm with the stream
30
as well.
seconds in the future. I am sorry, my just crashed again. We are
Okay.
experiencing technical difficulties.
I
I
think we're
am
about to
going
see
into the
that
assessment
team
center.
fight that you foretold for us as the Enchant Crystal Arrow, yes, it does come out. Prima only able to get the quickness onto Pig. Gragas is going down pretty low here, flashing underneath the turrets, able to stay alive for now. Last auto attack from Demonic will get the kill, but the satchel charge knocks the Ash back. Will be a 1-for-1 in that bot lane. As Tornado not going to connect in mid paranoia now. Being utilized, but must have just lost vision of his target there. Did ready, was not able to actually cast the ultimate. How's it going over there, Loki? Where are you
I
at?
need a timestamp. I am in the trenches right now. It is getting worse.
All right, why don't you go to 11 minutes 30 seconds, and once we get to 11:20, I'll count the wins, all right? We do have Shelly being utilized right now in the bot lane. This is giving a lot of priority over the TMP for the second dragon. We are now at 11:20, 21, 22, 23. A nice steal away on that grab from Ready. 26, 27, 28, 29, 11:30, 31.
I am back in the present.
Right, welcome back, Loki. Thanks for joining us once again. As we can see, Team Manhattan Project onto the objective. Looking to secure their second drag.
My DeLorean seems to be acting up just a little bit. And we love to see this position for the Manhattan Project. Very explosive early game team, just continuing to leverage this lead. And it hasn't let up too much. Playing very carefully around their goal, trying to be able to get these fights together. And a Kraken Slayer on Yasuo fairly early into this game, all things considered, for how the gold is then. That can start being very scary very soon. Treading through these health bars, that's a good amount of base damage.
Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be very, very threatening on this Yasuo to imagine with all these knockups. All this setup for Stream Guts with this composition as well. You know, it is going to be very, very tricky for the side of Skipper to deal with. But as we mentioned earlier, you know, there are somewhat a lack of viable targets for the Yasuo, but that problem I think has been mitigated a little bit by the fact that the Manhattan Project are so far ahead right now that he can just kind of assassinate targets that he normally wouldn't be able to.
Just eeny, meeny, miny, that one. He's a little indiscriminate, just like a real life version. This ain't Disney anymore.
That was a deep cut there, Loki, but yeah, certainly the Stream Guts looking to do some classic Yasuo gameplay in this one.
So, how do you feel about the Chemtech Soul, by the way? I'm not a huge fan of the stats on it, but the plants have been a lot of fun being able to get a lot of vision across the map and just a lot of sustain.
Yeah, definitely. I do think that the map is kind of interesting.
Turret plating will
I do
soon
enjoy
fall.
the Chemtech Soul map somewhat, but the buff, of course, is commonly hated by many League players. It's just doesn't feel as impactful as any of the other Dragon Souls. One breaking out in the top lane. Nocturne in the area as well with ultimate. So Domino's gonna flash away and buy himself a little bit of time. Here comes the jungler. Paranoia onto the Aatrox. Spear Tether is going that way as well, but this is still an outnumbered fight in favor of PS Elementary until Pig makes his way in on the grind. So the Arrow connects. That's gonna be a kill onto the jungler. It's a much needed kill for PS Elementary. Now the slows coming through on a Pig. The Gragas out of mobility. Gonna get cleaned up here as well. It is going to be the Wukong who picks up that second kill, but still. It is going to be 2-0. PS Elementary in the top lane. In the top lane.
I mean, that's I look like I am getting ready to crash and burn all over again. I'm not quite sure what is happening.
Well, we got the Grand Starfall. That's going to be Samadose getting the kill onto this in this top lane where PS Elementary stuck around a little bit too long. Stream Guts also is going to take the tier 2 in bot nearly uncontested, and that's going to be the double kill now. That goes over to Samadosuke's Pantheon. Stream Guts in the 1v1 against the Aatrox. He's flashing forward the death. Oh, it's not enough as the Darkin swings his blade, and he is going to cut down the Yasuo where he stands.
I mean,
How is it going? Where are you at?
I am at 16 minutes. I am on what's going on my screen for just a second here. That is a lot of map pressure that they're just letting Stream Guts get. Being able to get that tier 2, they're going to be knocking on those inhibs very shortly. And that's a scary spot to be in. No matter how you slice it, we can try to sit there and scale all day and be like, oh yeah, no, that's just some super minions. But that's going to be some super minions giving away the top side of the map for should the Manhattan Project just take it. They don't have to worry about anything if they're
Pretty aggressive from CMP at the moment. So doing some counter jungling. They were mostly successful in stealing away those raptors. Did you want to try and sync up again, Loki?
Sure.
All right, we're at 45 right now. I'll start counting for you in just a moment. As, the paranoia actually has come down. It's going to be Riddy into the back line. Maybe the Nocturne, though, too far forward. Once again, Mega Inferno Bomb will come out. Good damage from the Ziggs. The Hemo flank is down as well. There's absolute chaos in this team fight. It's impossible even to tell what's going on. There's so many low health bars on both sides as the Rakan will be able to limp away. Top part of over the wall with the Trickster and the Cyclone as well. Gets the flash off of yours sincerely. The Ziggs will survive. Somehow, nobody died in that fight. And Loki, we are now at 16 minutes and 20 seconds. If you want to go to 16:35, maybe?
Yep.
All right, perfect. For 25, 26, 27, 8, 9, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 6, 7. You're good?
Yeah.
Alrighty, yeah, so we did just see Shirley now getting secured by PS Elementary off the back end of that absolutely wild team fight.
You have to have a lot of confidence to be able to go into these fights right now. This is some fairly entertaining. It looks like Duma is just going to be limping away all over again.
Spear not good enough. The Birdman will survive. The Dragon, though, will be the focus. Or having to go back to the fountain means that this is going to be a Chemtech Soul point. You know, Chemtech Soul feels a lot worse than the other Souls Loki, but it is still a soul, and it's still going to give them a meaningful advantage in this game.
I mean, just in general, we're seeing a lot of map pressure.
We are fine. We are very tricky on the Wukong. We can W out of that situation. And the Inferno Bomb will not be enough. The Paranoia might be, though. Here comes the Nocturne. Riddy needs one more Dustbringer. I don't think he's going to have a cooldown in time, but the knockups are so much. They will eventually take down the Rakata even onto the turret. There's that classic Yasuo gameplay that we were looking for. And Stream Guts will end up giving over 300 gold. Crystal Arrow connects onto the Gragas, who flashes away to create enough space to survive. And we got some pushing happening in these other lanes right now. Yours sincerely looking to take a mid-tier to Panther doing the same in the top lane. Now Aatrox is stepped too far forward, and he's gonna die. We got everybody, the champions are dying, the turrets are dying, everything's dying, Loki.
Rocks fall, everyone's gone, time to rewrite another character. And this is exactly what we need from the Manhattan Project, though. They got that early pressure. They're going to just continue to one by one crack all of these structures down and just keep it moving. There's not been much contesting Stream Guts when he's just down off to the side singing, has a little bit of music in the back of his head. Just having
the
a good
montage
old
music
time.
was playing. Yeah.
You know, got the silver scrapes at the ready for when he eventually pops that ult button. And with all of that early pressure, though, we're seeing a full level difference still between Top Prodigy and Riddy. A lot of this game, it's a lot of pressure that just continues to build since Wukong really does rely on being at least even with his opponent to be able to have those skirmishing potentials. But Riddy hasn't cared. He's just sat in the jungle waiting for his prey to waddle on up to him.
Ooh, the cast does get the knock-up, and that is the go signal for Stream Guts as the montage music plays once again. But Rakan, the quickness, the triple knock-up with the grand entrance. Is it enough to keep the top laner alive? Yes, it is. It's the Yasuo who goes down, and now Vladimir here with the Hemo Plague on it too. Samanosuke running for the hills, but the hills are just a little bit too far away. One more empowered Q from the Vladimir. Oh, timed it on the Aegis there, but will not be enough as Top Prodigy picks up that kill once again.
And that's moments like these are really good, but we see off to the side, yours sincerely, he can execute turrets very quickly, and that is what makes Ziggs fairly terrifying. As there goes the inhibitor turret. There's not really much holding that, so we're going to be seeing a PSE potentially looking for a Baron play to be able to try to give themselves leverage for this game. As Riddy, like I said earlier, does not care. He is just sat in that bush.
Once again with the last breath, but Top Prodigy able to get away once again with the Warrior Trickster. That's going to be the check cross arrow, and the chains pulling Riddy back into the team, but with the flash, he's able to get away, and now the Paranoia onto the mid laner. Vladimir into the pool, will survive. Riddy will not. As he barely survived on the Nocturne, and it's going to be the Vladimir that goes down. He didn't have anybody from the team in the area. Where did the Pantheon come from? He just flew from the enemy fountain. What the heck? But that is going to mean another kill now onto the support. 5v3 on the map for the Manhattan Project. They're onto the Baron.
And there goes the play that I saw PSE having for their out on this game, since things have gone from bad to worse. Riddy has been positioning like he absolutely does not care. We almost see him get punished, toss away the shutdown goal, and a little bit of pressure onto those neutral objectives. Nope. There comes the rest of the Manhattan Project with that global presence to bail him out. And we're going to be seeing a lot of that leverage for the next little while, since effectively that scaling has been put mostly to a halt for PSE.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, the Vladimir is definitely threatening and can do a lot of damage, especially once he completes that that death cap, which he's going to have in about, I think, like 300 gold pretty soon. So that is pretty much the one threat, I would say, that the Manhattan Project have to look out for right now. But yeah, it's going to be hard for Vladimir alone to take down all of these guys, especially when there is so much CC, you know, all these knockups, and Fear from the Nocturne and Pantheon Stun and all this stuff. The Vladimir only has one pool. Big Pig, though, with a nice cast to try and survive, has the belly bop as well, but he's not going to be able to create enough space, and there's that kill for the Vladimir, only number 2 for Panther, but another much-needed kill for PSE.
Yeah, they need to be able to take whatever they can get. If the Manhattan Project is going to be just giving them picks, that is going to be scary, especially as getting into those objectives. Sure, the Chemtech Dragon isn't the most impactful by any means of the coin, but that's still some extra stats to be able to try to get them into this game and have some level of a standing to be able to move forward with. As these timers continue to get larger and larger, they can try to wedge more and more gaps into this map. They just need to take it one pick at a time.
Yeah, but Loki, it's looking like another great macro call from the Manhattan Project. They lost their support, so they immediately say, it's okay. We're just going to give this dragon. We're going to play for structures. We have Ziggs already destroyed that tier 2 in the top lane, and we've got Nocturne already putting on the pressure in mid. We'll have to vacate the area as PS Elementary move up to defend, but it was the side of the Manhattan Project making the best out of an awkward situation and getting some more gold on their already very fed Ziggs. Oh, flashing forward is Submit, but he flashed right into a Pantheon and is going to die for that one as the quickness utilized by Shima as well. That's an aggressive Paranoia from Riddy going straight into all 4 members of the enemy team. Is going to get knocked up. A decent amount of damage has come up, and now the Nocturne trying to get away will not be able to. Way too far ahead of the rest of the team there. Seminoski is going to jump back in. He's going to try to get that kill on a neck. Will not be successful. Stream Guts now flashing in. Oh, didn't have Ignite. He's got teleport on the Yasuo. He went for the last breath without finishing the Ash off first, and it's turned into an absolute clown fiesta for the Manhattan Project. Each member going in one by one and giving up their life. Yours sincerely, the last to fall.
That's tough.
There's that silly gameplay that you were hoping to see tonight, Loki. We've had nothing but silliness.
Just a little silly goofy, you know? Starting with Submit just jumping straight into the lion's mouth, and then the rest of PSE came together to just rip them apart as they just continue to pass themselves straight into the blender for a bit. That's a lot of pressure that they just gave up. No more Baron on the board. They didn't pop any inhibitors. And yeah, they were able to get the turrets, but not saying much when you have the ability to take them so consistently through this game, when you just calm it down, play together, and really just get those splits going to be able to keep pressure of these maps.
Yeah, Loki, and, you know, after that play, the weather is starting to get a little bit warmer out. You know, our snowball has shrunk in size quite significantly, and one has to wonder now if that was the key mistake, the mistake that is going to allow PS Elementary now to get back into the game. Vladimir finished his death cap halfway to his Zonias now. Once he gets that, he's going to be even more difficult to take down. And I just feel like this composition for the Manhattan Project is more and more difficult to execute on the later we get into this game.
I mean, that's about what we were expecting, right? We
Yeah.
see the picks like Pantheon, we see the picks like Nocturne, where they're able to take a lead and run away with it. But now we're seeing Submit having a level advantage over Seminoles.
Oh my goodness, again, the paranoia so deep into the enemy team. Good damage with the Inferno Bomb, though. Is Riddy going to be able to make it out this time? The answer looks to be yes. In comes Seminoske now on the Pantheons. His turn to dive the back lines. They really should be doing that at the same time as now it's Steam Guts' turn to go into 5 people, and he will not survive. Riddy now getting jumped on by Top Prodigy. That's going to be Pig flashing away to stay alive, and nobody's in the side lane this time around. Guys, Manhattan Project, what is happening? What? I don't understand.
They thrive off of being able to do the jumping, but not one at a time.
Like,
the
just
entire point of this time. Just hang out together, sing Kumbaya, maybe have a little drum circle until you get the explosive cast to be able to have some very big last breaths. But you know, we just need to take a little chill pill for just a moment. I promise you, TMP, they will give you something to bite on. We've seen Submit jump straight at all 5 of you before. They will do it again, I promise.
Yeah, but the question is just who is going to do it first. This game has really been a battle of throws. It feels like to me is these teams are just taking turns overstepping at key moments. And right now, we do have a 5v5 on the Rift. 1 minute until our next Chemtech Dragon. Who do you think is going to be putting more priority on this one? I mean, it kind of has to be PS Elementary. Okay, you're sincerely actually in trouble in the mid lane. As I think already used the satchel. He's just dead. He is just a dead Ziggs, just a little bit too far forward in that mid lane. And now 5v4 for PS Elementary with just moments until the objectives come. They're actually going to go for the Baron. They're saying, go ahead and take your Chemtech Soul. We don't care. We're going to take this Baron. We do have Stream Guts now in the side lane. So this is back to what was working for the Manhattan Project, is just sticking people off in the side lane so they can take structures for free. Baron will go over. Yasuo will have time to get at least the turret. What else will he get? Will he be able to get out with his life? That is really the main question for me. Answer looks to be yes.
I mean, I think I agree with the Baron here all day. Just being able to get that little bit to be able to continue to have some level of we're going to hold this together. That's a lot.
Nice tornado. Gale Force to get away from the Grand Entrance. This Dragon has not gone just yet. And now the Cyclone on to Pig. That's going to be the knock-up. You did lose there. Rakan as Shima's getting taken down. And the focus is a little bit split from PSE. We do have Nick going golden in the middle of this fight. But flashing forward is the Nocturne to finish off the AD carry. Now Seminoske going down very, very low. Top Prodigy will be able to finish off that kill onto the Pantheon. Riddy will not survive either. And now once again, it is just the Ziggs. Just the lonely, explosive Yordle to try and make it happen. And one more bomb is enough to take down the jungler. And now it's just mono and mono. Ziggs versus Vladimir, the 2 scaling AP threats. Who will get the Chemtech Dragon?
So I actually don't agree with PSE looking to contest this Chemtech Dragon. For the simple fact of, at this point, just hand them the stats to be able to take your time to be able to farm up those minions that they handed you on a silver platter. And go for the next fight around the Elder Dragon and just sustain for that few minutes that you have Baron.
Oh, the blood, the E from the Vladimir is enough to get the kill. Sincerely toss out the Inferno Bomb and just barely clips Panther with the edge of that hitbox. Very, very close there for Panther. Wanted to stay close enough to get off that empowered Q, but in the end did not have the opportunity to do so. And yeah, Loki, I 100% agree with what you were just saying, how contesting that for PS Elementary was not a good idea. I see this all the time in my solo queue games as well. Like, once you get the Baron, you should just be focusing on pushing the lanes. Like, that is what the Baron buff gives you, right? When you just opt into a 5v5 like that in neutral territory, you are risking so much. And, I mean, they did give as good as they took, but we can see here in the aftermath that now they have no Baron buff and they've lost 2 inhibitors.
Yeah, it's just a lot that they bled away that they did not have to give. They are the scaling team. As far as we're concerned at this point, we're just waiting for some other parts of it, TMG, to fall off a little bit. And Ashe is getting to the point in their build where it's kind of hard to stick on them. With out all these dashes, having to play off of the Trinity Force moving speed, and just always being slow. They're able to kite really hard as well as submit, even though they've had some interesting options that they've taken. Has a lot of health to get through and is going to be a very consistent disruptor. If you're not paying close attention to him, it can get very overwhelming very fast, as we're going to be seeing a lot of focus on map pressure going around the neutral objectives on the side of the Manhattan Project, as they're continuing to look for that top side and try to crack that. 3 inhibs makes it super hard to be able to make any of those fights happen that we're going to have to see PS Elementary get going in their favor.
Yeah, absolutely. Should be a pretty straightforward game plan at this point for the Manhattan Project. Just group up, play mid top side, get that last inhibitor down like you're just saying, and should be their game to lose from there. So see if they're gonna be able to execute on that, or if we're gonna have some more people getting caught out randomly, diving into 5 of the enemy team and dying, because that has happened a number of times this game.
Just a couple times, you know, we're feeling a little silly goofy together. And these Ziggs bombs are starting to really hurt. So you're going to have to see a lot more focus put on to Top Prodigy being right down yours sincerely's throat and trying to be able to keep them from having any room to breathe. Since a couple stray bombs, Demo Nick will go away very fast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. The Ash, you know, is working on the GA, is about halfway to GA right now, which I do think is a pretty good choice into a composition like this, but doesn't have it yet, obviously. So that Ash, still a very burstable target at the current time, as the minion wave, as we can see, coming in right now in the top side as the siege commences. 90 seconds out on the next Baron. Chains land on a Pig, and Shrelia's popped, as Shima thought maybe there was an angle there, but Gragas able to, oh my god, that Inferno Bomb, almost 100 to 0 the Ash.
Yeah, like I was saying, very scary point to be in when you're Demo Nick, looking down so many smoking guns that are just frothing at the head to be able to try to take that shot. And
all right, there is the triple inhibitor, has become a reality for the side of the Manhattan Project. They have a very secure advantage for themselves now in this game. Now they can play it out however they'd like from here. The quickness and the flash forward for Shima does get off a little bit of an engagement. Hemo play comes down as well. 1-4. Look at Vladimir go straight onto the entire team, and he's just sucking all the blood out of him. Panther is just absolutely eliminated, eviscerated the opposition. A great setup as well from the Rakan. But right when it looked like PSE were up against the ropes, they take the rope and they wrap it around their opponent's neck.
And there's the scaling we were talking about. You know, it might be a little bit dark. We'll let everyone else talk about it, but I did make an indiscriminate low-hanging fruit joke earlier, so I guess I can forgive you for now. But this is what we were talking about earlier with the scaling comp. It's very easy for those full team ultimates to come out from Panther and from the Rakan to be able to keep them all stuck together. And that's what makes this position so dangerous, and why the Manhattan Project needed to avoid this. And
yeah, I mean, this
position has been consistent.
It's scary now, I think, for the Manhattan Project. I mean, they are almost certainly going to be able to get this Chemtech Soul, right? Because of all the super minions that are pushing in, PS Elementary, unfortunately for them, are just not allowed to leave their base at the moment. So this is going to be a Chemtech Soul, but it's just the Chemtech Soul, right? It's not a win condition in and of itself. So the question of how do you actually end this game for the side of the Manhattan Project continues to be an extremely pressing one.
And honestly, this is the stage of the game where either we see PSE make a couple of mistakes one by one together, like the Manhattan Project did a few times earlier, and you get those picks to be able to end it, or we wait around, we try to take what we can, hold the map pressure that we have, and play around that Elder Dragon, be able to try to get that last little boost to be able to start closing out some of these kills, since PSE has a lot of sustain.
Whoa, World Ender pop. They're just running straight in on the side of PSE. They're just going straight for the throne, and they will find it as the Grag has already been burst down. The scaling, it appears, is very much a reality at this point in the game. As Samanosuke comes back up from the stopwatch, just gets immediately popped. And oh, they did lose their Vladimir, though, on the other token. So the Manhattan Project did manage to get one back, but we can see that just opting into the straight up 5v5s is really just not working for them anymore.
Yeah. Panther is a really good target for them to grab, but for what? They have to really start weighing their decisions as they're getting into this. We're gonna get this pick, but Panther's in a spot where genuinely, I think if they go for just jumping him, there's a good chance he sneaks away with 3. That is a lot of gold in this man's pocket. A lot of damage at the ready with the Night Harvester and the Rabadon's Death Cap. Plus, you have to wait around for about 3 or 4 rotations of his abilities anyway. Having that Zhonya's, having that pool, having the Chemo Plague, just a lot of sustain to get through. And not a lot of anti-heal to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, they are pretty burst heavy, at least on the side of the Manhattan Project, right? So, and that's, I think, kind of what happened in the previous fight is, like, if you can just get off that little bit of CC, if you catch him when he comes out of the pool, you know, you can kind of one-shot him. You know, he does also have the Zhonya's, but if he is missing both the Zhonya's active and the pool, then he is definitely killable. But easier said than done, right? And you know, if you're focusing all of that on just killing the Vladimir, that means you are not doing anything against the level 18 Aatrox or the Ashe, who now has 3 items. So, yeah, it's pretty tricky for the Manhattan Project. If I'm in the Manhattan, or let's ask you, actually, Loki. If you are in the Manhattan Project's shoes right now, what is actually your strategy at this point? Like, how do you blow up the Nexus?
So at this point, I would be looking to just staunch what bleeding I can and really focus back on those splits. We're seeing no Baron buff, so they're not going to be able to get off a recall too fast. And around the neutral objectives, we have Elder coming up. That is a big, scary objective that they'll be looking for, so they have to slow it down a lot to get there. But when they do, it could be beautiful. Just slow it down, get that Elder, have someone off to the side looking scary once in a while, and either they take your, we'll say Stream Guts because he was our main proponent for the split push for a while, but we take Elder Dragon, wait out the minute respawn timer, and we have a lot of pressure in the next fight with it, since they only have to get a little bit more space to be able to go with, or alternatively, we'll see PSE just murder ball it a little bit. They have a lot of footing to be able to try to start picking up the pace of this game.
Oh, Wukong walking over a ward right now, unbeknownst to him. Will not fall for the Fnatic Rush, though. The Scryer's Bloom will come out as in goes the Wukong. Looks like this fight may be breaking out. Wukong dives the backline with the Cyclone. The same for the Nocturne with the Paranoia, as that is going to be the Wukong getting cut down as the Nocturne has managed to survive somehow. I'm not quite sure how, but Riddy able to give him the slip, and now it is just a 5v4 on the Rift for the Manhattan Project. And remember, all 3 inhibitors exposed as well. Can they win the 5v4 team fight? The 5v5 is a no-go, but the 5v4, just maybe, that is winnable for TMP at this point in the game. You can see the side of PSE back onto the Foundry, replenish those health bars, and the side of TMP into the base to try and reclaim these inhibitors. But Panther is so scary on this Vladimir, and Ghost Stream once again looking for the engage, not quite going to find it this time around. And TMP have been scared off. They don't want the smoke, Loki. They're like, oh, that Vladimir, he's just a little bit too scary. He's looking a little bit too hungry right now. We're going to have to back out and wait for another opportunity.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with the amount of pressure that Panther just existing puts on the field. There's so much that you have to get to go right to be able to take that one off the board, and even at this stage of the game, we have some very long respawn timers. All it takes is one good team fight or one good slip from PSE, and Panther will run not Panther, the Manhattan Project can run away with this. Also, I think it's the Scryer's Blooms that are crashing my game.
Really?
Almost every single time a Scryer's Bloom has been hit, I have immediately crashed.
That is
Even
very
if
interesting. But
it's
we
not
are on
on
the
my
Baron.
screen.
We are burning it down. It's down to 50%. The Paranoia into the business. Oh, the Baron Riddy just gets in there and smites it away from PSE. The team fight is very chaotic. The 5v5 should still very much go in PSE's favor. Do they get any Baron buffs out? Can they evacuate any of these members while still wearing purple? It's yours sincerely on the Ziggs, who has managed to create a decent amount of space and has a super blast cone to get back towards his own fountain. The Pantheon Samanosuke will survive as well, but this is certainly going to be the Elder Dragon over to PSE in a trade of the Uber buffs.
I don't like that. I really don't. If you're the side of the Manhattan Project, yes, Baron is scary. Don't get me wrong. Baron is a very scary buff on the board. But giving a strong team access to the Elder Dragon, giving them the Elder Dragon is even scarier at this point. Especially since we're going to be seeing Vlad. I don't think he did not have flash for that fight either. So we have another tool just sitting around ready to make it even more annoying to get rid of this man. And no one has hit a Scryer's Bloom in a little bit. I am super happy. Please stop.
Oh man, the Chemtech map makes that so much worse too because it spawns more plants. So it's just like, here, Loki's computer, have some extra death.
I don't even think it was like the normal Scryer's Blooms that did it either, is what's terrifying.
It's actually just the Super Scryers.
I think it has been so far. So
well,
this just is a wonky program.
Yeah, we'll have to try and get that sorted out potentially during the break. But for now, we are in a very interesting position because the Baron buff is on for the side of TMP for 1 more minute, and there is an Elder buff on the side of PSE for approximately the same amount of time. So PSE on the push right now into these Baron waves is extraordinarily difficult, and this is really just feeling like a stalemate for the next minute or so until this Baron falls off and PSE can start to realistically threaten these structures. There is also a very awkward wave for PSE in the top lane right now, where that is pushed all the way up to their own inhibitor. So the mid lane is the only lane that they can play. Oh, they're just going to dive the turret. They're just going to go for it. They do have the Elder buff after all. That is going to be a dead support to start things off. Already not going to be able to get away either. And there is the team fight win. I guess it wasn't awkward after all. It was, in fact, extremely simple as PS Elementary make it look elementary indeed. But oh, wait, what's this? Yasuo is teleporting into the top lane. He wants to try to end the game, but the teleport will be there to match. Aatrox gets up there to defend the inhibitor from Stream Guts. Samanosuke is also Grand Starfalled his way, or no, he actually just somehow managed to get in the middle of mid lane to cut the wave. Will successfully get the wave cut, will not survive to tell the tale. So this is really funky, Loki. I mean, the team fights are just continuing to go more and more in favor of PSE. Seems like every fight we see is just more in their favor. But it's so scrappy from the Manhattan Project. They're cutting these waves. They're staying in it.
Yeah, they're trying really hard to play to that win condition of just get off to the side, 5-head. Don't worry about this, you know, everything's fine, smile, as we're going to be seeing Stream Guts trying to be over there and take these structures.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to happen. The Infernal Bomb does come down. Good damage of one. Nexus turret has already fallen. Submit on the front lines on the Aatrox, getting out as much damage as he can. The Fear Tether will push the Aatrox back for now. As Vladimir once again into the pool. Panther will survive. Those cooldowns are just so low at this point in the game. Level 18 for the Hemo Mage. And it actually, I misspoke earlier. The Nexus turrets both still stand for the Manhattan Project as PS Elementary have been repelled. And we play on, Loki.
Yeah, this one is going to be 1 hour or bust, I feel, as PSE is starting to crack a lot of the objectives across the map and really take a really dominant performance into this game. But the Manhattan Project, they're going to go down sweet. They're having a grand old time making this take as long as possible. They tossed a huge lead, but they're still in it. They're going to continue to play to this win condition of try to just split off, be annoying, and try to, at the very least in this case, keep matching inhibs so they have minions not out of their favor.
I wonder if we'll get to full build for every champion in the game for game number 1. We're getting pretty close. So half an item for the Pantheon, half an item for the Nocturne. That's the story for most of these players, just half an item away from full build. Is we have some base racing happening right now. In the top lane, it is the Manhattan Project trying to run it down, and they do have less structures to go through. That will force, in fact, the recalls out from PS Elementary as they retreat from their bot lane push. Will be just minus down 1 inhib on the play, Loki.
Like, you know what I said about be annoying? Here we have it.
Yeah, this is the
Except
strategy
now,
for TMP. They're
yeah,
playing it out well.
man, they have a lot. What makes this really scary is TMP has a lot of really good champions for doing this. Just going off to
Mm.
the side and taking those turrets very quickly. Nocturne is among their slower options, but still very good, getting that extra stats off of their Q and just kind of running amok. I want to see PSC squash the door right in their face. Yes, they have fewer structures to work with, but we've seen some very explosive gameplay from Spanther, and Submit has already kind of delegated himself the one to match these plays.
Look at this from the Manhattan Project. They know that their opponents want to go for the Baron. They're just diving straight into the base. They're like, okay, we can't fight them for Baron, but maybe we can get the Nexus. But no, that will be the team fight come breaking out for PSE in their own base. They will be able to collapse. The inhibitors will go down, but this team fight will always go the way of PSE. The Chemoplague should finish off the Gragas. Yes, it will. There's Aatrox diving forward. We'll be able to finish off the Ziggs as well. Do any TMP members, are they able to get back to the fountain? That looks to be only the Nocturne that will survive. There are no waves really to speak of for the side of PSE, though. Can they shepherd this mid wave all the way across the map in time before the respawns come through? It's looking pretty likely. So we are very deep in this game after all. 30 seconds on the Gragas. And Riddy knows. He's like, I'm not going to be able to defend it just by myself. I have to try and end the game. I have to try and pull some members back to deal with me. But he will ultimately be unsuccessful in his heroic attempts to counter push. And this will be the first Nexus for PS Elementary. It took them 47 minutes in an extremely scrappy back and forth game that they probably should have lost, if we're being honest, Loki. But in the end, it was the superior team fighting and the cooler heads down the stretch that did prevail. PS Elementary 1-0 here in week 3.
I think you actively called it earlier when you were saying this might be where that turning point happens. The ball just started falling down the hill and they just could not get after it. TMP tossed a lot of gold away more than a couple times, potentially getting a little too arrogant with the lead that they had. And PSE, they just kept a nice calm level head and really dragged this game on and just ground those gears together until the belt fell off. And also, it might have just been coincidental timing because a Shirelia's Revelry or a Rakanal, one of those two, is what crashed me for that last team fight. But I did see our Mad Bomber man was trying his best, did put up over 100,000 damage. So congratulations to him.
Holy smokes, 106.5k on the Ziggs in 47 minutes. That is Loki, I
Yeah,
actually don't know if I've ever seen that before. If I've ever seen over 100k damage in a game. Like,
I don't think I've seen it in a structured game.
yeah, I mean that's absolute insanity. And he lost the game. The little cherry on top there. 100k. This is like when you take the screenshot of the post
Yeah.
mat and you post it on Reddit afterwards, right? And you're
I
like,
can't believe
"Oh,
they're
guys, my team."
following. Oh,
Yeah,
this is
like,
every game.
oh man, it's absolute insanity though, and you do kind of have to feel for yours sincerely in this one because often in these messy team fights where the side of the Manhattan Project were like overdiving and being a little bit overconfident, maybe it was the Ziggs who was always like the last to fall, right? He's always in the back line, just like trying to chuck out his bombs as much as he can. He's like, guys, wait, team, no, don't die.
Please, I swear.
Please, I just want to throw more bombs. But no,
He had really
in the
good
end,
positioning that entire time.
he did. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like the Ziggs play was honestly pretty good, but it's hard to play Ziggs when your team is dead. So that's kind of how it went down for yours sincerely in this one. But of course, a well-deserved win over to the side of PS Elementary. I always like to ask this of my color guys, Loki, before we get into our break. Who's your game one POG? We have some pretty strong contenders here. I think
Ooh.
Panther is probably the front runner on this Vladimir, but Shameless Rakan had some pretty nice engages, and Submit on the Aatrox ended up being a little bit of a raid boss as well.
Honestly, I want to give it to Submit. I was very worried going into the early game that his top lane would have bled a lot of gold, since that was realistically the only lane that I saw the Manhattan Project really seemed to be like, yeah, our win con is we're very aggressive very early. But Submit was able to keep it together and became one heck of a powerhouse later on to be able to really support the team and just drain tank his way to seeing the Hemoplague blow everyone up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a solid shout there towards Submit's Aatrox. It was a little bit of a struggle early on, as you mentioned, Loki, but did rally pretty nicely. I think me personally, I'd probably vote towards Panthers Vladimir for just carrying those team fights so very, very hard. But definitely, it obviously was a team effort from PS Elementary to be able to turn that game around. So
Yeah.
props to them. And now we will
Hmm.
soon see if they can do it again as game two, right around the corner. Don't miss it. We'll be right back. right, everybody, welcome back to the VTS Fall 2023. We are jumping straight into our game 2 pick and ban, Loki, and hopefully the champion select phase won't crash on you, will it?
I mean, who's to tell? You know, I've been ghost riding the whip for a little bit. We already have had a couple hiccups with the Mandalorian, but it's a good old time breaking things down. We're seeing a Belveth and Ziggs as our first couple bans. It looks like the Manhattan Project. It's fully intentional. Skip that first ban. We don't need that one. It's cringe.
Yeah, I'm thinking there must be something going on here with a substitution on the roster or something like this. Let me see if I can find that info for us. Manhattan Project. Yeah, I believe that their support is a e-sub maybe. That might be the reason for the missed ban.
I think I'm gonna be swapping my POG from last game onto PS Elementary support though, for finding a way to take out my computer alongside it, as we're seeing PSE wants Viego, another very aggressive jungler. I definitely prefer them over Wukong as far as being able to take control of the fight goes, as well as just having a little bit more early game bruising potential.
Yeah, and the Viego was banned away by the Manhattan Project last game on blue side. So this is clearly a priority pick for PSE's jungler. That's the reason why we saw them on the Wukong before, because their Viego got banned away, I guess. But we'll get their hands on it this time around. The response is extremely interesting. Kindred Zeri into the Viego. What do you make of that?
It looks like it's overcompensating for the amount of survivability they needed for the Vladimir previously. Speak of the devil and he shall appear. That's a beautiful hover, and we know exactly where that's going.
Yeah, after a great performance in game number 1, Panther are going to get their hands on the Hemo Mage once again. And now, this will be a little bit interesting because PSE can only pick half of their bot lane here. Alternatively, they could just blind pick a top laner. If they wanted to go
the idea of blind picking a top here.
They definitely could have just gone back towards the Aatrox or something like this. It was a reasonably safe blind pick, but they'll opt for the Sivir instead to kind of wave clear against the Zeri and try and put some pressure on in that early lane phase.
Yeah, Zeri Kindred is a very mobile backline to try to pin down though, so it is very interesting to see it going on with that. I feel like Sivir isn't the best option out there, but for the idea of holding these waves and being able to keep it from having the entire world shoved down your throat, I think Sivir's good for it, as we're going to get some trouble bubbles on this rift in the hands of the Manhattan Project, though. That could be a little goofy.
Interesting. So obviously in the previous game, we did also have Stream Guts with the opportunity to counterpick into the Vladimir before as well. Previously it was the Yasuo. This time around it will be the Zoe. A very, very different look for that TMP mid laner. Do you know much about this matchup, Loki?
I know it can be really awkward.
Okay.
Either way, we're playing around Drowsy. I think Vladimir has a little bit more of a hill to stand on than Zoe, because Zoe does have the paddle star to be able to pump a lot of damage from downrange and has a decent clear with that, and for the most part can match Vladimir's clear there. But I think between the pool and between the Q spam, Vladimir has enough sustain that they're not too worried about the trouble bubble. As we're seeing Aatrox Mundo bans coming out from PSE, it looks like they're leaning away from that. And Alistar Zeri is our locked-in bot lane for TMP. That's scary. That is a really good bot lane.
Oh yeah, the Alistar Zeri, strong duo. Why is that?
They just have a lot of burst. Alistar has always been my favorite boy if you want to just have one person locked down for a year. And in this case, it gives Sivir some interesting counterplay, though. If I remember correctly, going for the normal Alistar combo, if Sivir just shields right at the start, they don't get knocked up, and they just get knocked away instead. So it's essentially a weaker Vayne Condemn for a moment. So that could get them out of dodge in whatever situation they need. But going with the Rakan, this is a very decent poke and sustain idea coming out from PSE, as the top lane is Urgot Gangplank for our matchup. PSE going for that Urgot. They're that's a nice little bit of kill pressure that they're gonna have in those team fights. As we have execute damage from the Viego ultimate, the Hemo Plague, as always, from a very consistent Panther, and just the fear of death put into everyone from Urgot pulling someone from downtown could get scary.
Yeah, that's true. There is a lot of execute damage on the side of PSC with this draft. Quick stats for submits. Urgot, only 8 games this season, 75% win rate though, so pretty good. And yeah, that is looking like a pretty comfortable pick for the top laner up there. Blind, of course, was a little bit dangerous, and the Gangplank is buffed here on 1319. Loki, were you able to get a chance to take a look at those Gangplank buffs?
I see his ult's a little bit more efficient now. Other than that, I did not actually get to finish reading it, which always makes me excited. So a little bit of slow there. Big ol' Death's Daughter.
Yeah, definitely. So just some nice little buffs for the Cannon Barrage there for the Pirate. So, you know, I haven't really got a chance to play against too much of a Gangplank in solo queue or anything myself just yet, so I don't really have too much of a feel for how impactful those buffs really were. Hopefully we can get a good idea from this game number 2.
Barrel.
Do we know about the matchup of Gangplank into Urgot? Obviously,
so this matchup makes me miserable personally, as someone who went through an unapologetic Gangplank phase where I just really enjoyed his oranges and, you know, was a silly goofy goober for a bit. Urgot early is terrifying. He just has a lot of kill pressure, and the only thing that you can really get value out of your oranges from, unless you're using them for a really low health, just quick heal, it's going to be Urgot's ultimate. His stun and his actual flip, you don't really get much out of oranging that. Maybe if you want to pop a little bit of vitamin C, you can get out of a slow. But between that kill pressure just from Urgot existing and the fact that he's ranged, makes it really hard to be able to make good use of early game barrels to be able to try to keep footing in a lane. And that is going to be making Gangplank very sad for quite a while, especially playing against someone like Submit, who's been really good at just grinding everything together until it's been a nice little mushy pulp to feed into Spanther.
Right. Yeah, definitely. We did see some nice mushy pulp in that previous game, but this is surprising to me that Loki. If the Gangplank does struggle so much against the Urgot in the laning phase, then why are we locking it into the Urgot? I mean, obviously R5 counterpick was held here by the Manhattan Project. So, you know, what is Samanosuke thinking? Is he stupid?
I mean, probably just comfortable. Honestly, it's a really rough matchup, but when you're comfortable and you're able to go even, you tend to have a bigger team fight presence later. Just because that is a lot of that's just a lot of damage coming in from those barrels, and it's very hard to keep track of them later. As well as we have the ultimate upgrades that are coming in that are going to be able to make it so it's easier to play together. As we see Kindred picked up another champion who is very easily made miserable early into these games, especially because Top Prodigy is playing a much better dueling jungler. This could get a lot scrappier early on, but I don't think it really cares too much. We saw their positioning before. They're very confident in just being a little cheeky bugger. So yeah, this might end up being one of those games where we see levels 1 through 8 won't matter too much, but once we start getting a couple dragons in, maybe a herald, and then we'll be able to see which team is starting to scale the other one. But Spanther is inevitable.
Yeah, I mean, this time at least we do have some pretty insane scaling on both sides. So we won't have a similar situation as we did previously where we get to a certain point in the game and one composition just always wins the 5v5s. This time around, it does feel much more even in that regard. But I did want to take a quick moment to give Samanosuke's Gangplank stats. It only feels fair because we gave Submit's Urgot stats. So 4 games on the Gangplank this season. He had much more in the previous season, which we can give also if you're interested. But why don't you guess the win rate across those 4 games, actually, Loki?
So I think it would be pretty cool if it was also 75%.
It would be pretty cool, but it is actually, in fact, 100%
I was
across
really
4
worried you were
games,
going to say much lower.
so No, no,
Uh,
no, no. It's looking pretty good. It was 56%
yeah,
win rate last season across many more games for Seminosuke on Pirate. So
just a very
uh,
comfortable champion then.
exactly. Yeah.
So
So we'll see how that top lane goes, mid lane as well. But I actually do think that your highlight of the jungle matchup might be the most important out of all of them. Because remember, in the previous game, it was Riddy who was the reason why the Manhattan Project found that really sizable early lead that, of course, they were eventually unable to hang on to. But one more time, once more, at least tonight, I will ask you, Loki, which composition you prefer before we get on to Summoner's Rift. We have, like we mentioned before, pretty more similar scaling on both sides, some comfort on both sides as well. What's your heart telling you?
I really like the Manhattan Project. They have a comp that really does play these team fights very well, and they're able to kite with this comp hopefully quite a bit more and try to offset some of the things that make Vladimir scary, which is those 5-man ultimates that make everyone's health bar turn into a little thing of wet tissue paper in the middle of a hailstorm.
Yeah, and certainly maybe some more tools to try and keep the structural integrity of our paper in better writing condition for the side of TNP. We'll see how successful they are going to be, as we're just about done with our spectator delay, guys. So that does mean we are about to hop into another break before we get on to Rift for Game 2. We'll be right back. Alrighty, everybody, welcome back on to Summoner's Rift for our second game of the night. That is going to be the Manhattan Project selecting red side after a tough loss in game number 1. It does mean PS Elementary taking positions on the blue. Once again, a 5-point for Elementary. Not the same story for the Manhattan Project, as they're looking for an early 5-man state into the bot side jungle. Bubble Bubble will connect. From the barrels here as well. The Panther not going to have to use any summoner spells.
I mean,
Oh,
hey, they already got what they want so far. That's a little bit more. Never mind, there's an exhaust.
submit, flashing over the wall, will just barely be able to get away from that second trouble bubble. So there is that summoner spell advantage. Manhattan Project once again off to a nice early lead.
That gives Samanosuke a good amount of breathing room for one of the hardest stages of this matchup. And a little bit of gold to go into lane with. I'd like to point out this starting item of the longsword refillable pot. That is very, very confident going into it. Just choosing to be able to go directly into an item instead of getting a little bit more from the disrupting pot. Panther does have a lot of room now to play very aggressive to start us off. Just because the trouble bubble level 1 does not give Green Guts a lot of priority in this lane on the first wave, especially going to that level 2.
Yeah, all right. This certainly does seem to be what we're seeing as Panther getting the push early on here in the mid lane. And very interesting as well to hear from a Gangplank enjoyer such as yourself about the tactical nature of that longsword start of those solo lanes. Certainly, as we did see a nice trade from Panther, or Stream Guts rather, in that mid lane. The Panther was choked out a little bit.
It does not look like Lane's going to be able to leverage the immunity that they got there to be able to take an explosive level 2 unfortunately. But we do have top dodges coming in.
In comes the Viego to make this a 3v2 in favor of PS Elementary. Yours sincerely already chunks down to about 50% on this there. He's trying to do some alpha gaming sidestep. The sword trying to trade one back, will not be able to. The exhaust does come out and the kill does go over the top of Prodigy.
Yeah, there's something to be said about the gameplay here, though, that is a really big difference from your average solo queue. Team Yours sincerely will hold their flash. They did pop Ghost, unfortunately, but they do hold that flash, acknowledging that I die either way. Might as well hold this to the next situation. And that is really smart gameplay from them. But very nice to see Top Prodigy coming out on top early into the game this go around. Since last time did not seem too well as Liddy. Once again, they don't care. They're in the other jungle doing a little bit of school shopping right now.
Yeah, Riddy, of course, able to identify that Viego went red Krugs into bot gank, which does mean the entire top side jungle is Kindred's for taking. But I think it is. Oh, the trouble bubble lands. The ignite comes down. The pool will not save you. Panther, after such an incredible performance in game number 1, gets solo killed at 3 minutes by Stream Guts here in game 2.
And on the bright side, Stream Guts did blow their flash and they did not need to secure that kill. So that is still some slow advantage going on over to Top Prodigy to have something to work with. Chill. There goes Siggy's Blue with his combo to get the stuns on top.
Rakan will be able to counter engage with the grand entrance a little bit. A submit now in the top lane in a 1v2. Flashaway trying to stay alive, will not be able to. Rakan barely alive down here in this bot lane. I don't believe that Kindred got a mark for that one, as now Top Prodigy once again still on the bot side of the map. We'll be able to get the kill onto the support. Yours sincerely with the glide over the wall, the jet set radio fusion to try and get away with the flash for the boomerang as Nick picks up their first of the game.
A lot of gold swinging on over to the bot side of this game for PSE, but I would like to point out the fact that Riddy did not shift who they were marking for a target. That is good for being able to make it a little bit less obvious where you're going on the map, but that is still a little delay in Kindred scaling up with their marks. They are currently sitting at 1 mark, so it was top scuttle earlier, which is very fortunate for them. As Panther and Stream Guts are just going to keep going back and forth. Not a lot happening there. Panther's looking rough this game.
Yeah, definitely. These trouble bubbles have certainly been landing. You know, it was kind of my understanding, actually, of this matchup that if Vladimir gets hit by a trouble bubble, then the pool duration, if he times it right, is actually long enough to dodge out from the subsequent paddle star. But I might actually just be wrong about that, as I've not played a ton of Vladimir.
I mean, I don't think we've seen them even attempt it yet. As we're seeing the Drowsy continues to land. And
like, did he not have pool there? Like, I don't understand. Like, why he didn't cast it. Yeah. Very strange.
Definitely some odd odd options consumed so far. As we're seeing, Samanosuke is able to keep the wave in a really nice spot. hanging back and getting his tap once in a while with submit. But gold in hand is pretty good in favor of the Manhattan Project right now, despite the bit of awkward tension going on in the bot lane to start us off. But that is a good amount of control going into the side of PSE around the first ocean. And I'm not sure how you feel about this dragon, but it's probably one of my favorite ones if you're going to get a single slot dragon to get the ocean one early.
Yeah, it definitely feels really, really nice, especially for the laners, right, who are trading a lot and do benefit a lot from that little bit of health regen when you're in combat with champions. It can definitely feel really, really powerful, but might not be enough to submit. As he's finding himself in a 1v2 drop underneath the turret. Really not level 6 yet, but is going to be able to stack up the mounting drive. Flashing forward is Urgot looking for that extra knee proc, but it won't be enough. It wasn't even that close, if we're being honest, as Riddy now picks up kill number 2.
I was excited for a moment. This kill, though, is fairly huge, though. That is the 3rd mark in the hands of Riddy. Getting close to being able to have a little bit of extra range to work with. Just need one more to be able to start really stacking up into this game and being a pain. Top Prodigy choosing to split the jungle definitely helps in being able to set where Wolf is going to want a little bite fairly consistently as Top Prodigy. Red-handed, but not punished.
We'll be able to get away with the Hallowed Mist, but I really like we were just bringing up. Oh, Streamless actually potentially in trouble here. Emo play comes down. Panther extremely low on the Vladimir. Won't be able to chase forward, but this should be a pretty easy cleanup for Top Prodigy. Will be able to secure himself the shutdown and just taking over to level 6 on the Viego with that kill as well. But what you were just touching on, Loki, the fact that I'm not going to be able to talk about that, am I? As we have just heartbroken our way into the Raptor pit. We are pushing Kindred right now off of their own Raptors. I didn't see who got the big one, but this is a pretty close fight. Grand Entrance will connect underneath the turret, will force out the Lamb's Respite. Nice move there from Shima. Gets a pretty big advantage for the squad.
Yeah, and we're looking at the golden pocket for a moment. Riddy does not have much to be able to get off the reset, so they're going to be forced to try to find something in the jungle. They got a little bit of help going into that raft, but they're very low, so Panther gets just a little inkling in their head that there might be someone here. Riddy might be in a rough spot, as well as we're seeing GFU just continue to band together as we're going to have Viego getting a pretty big item in a second here.
Does Nick get out of this one? The spell shield's not in time. That is going to mean a dead Sivir here, as Stream Guts actually comes in to pick that one up with the Pep Star.
Downtown, those are going to start to hurt a lot very quickly. Portal jumping wherever they please, solving a couple puzzles on how to get the gold on out of here. Well, you're going to see a lot of big boss move playing off of Riddy and just trying to take up all the space in Top Prodigy's jungle. Secure these marks, secure the buffs, and just try to take over this side of the map in a moment here. And like we said earlier, Riddy is stacking very well. They're on pace, very convincingly to be able to be a dominant force in this game. Already have 4 stacks, so they have a good amount of range to work with to be able to tap the block.
And that comes onto yours sincerely. Takes a lot of damage from that boomerang. Will pop the Zeri ultimate. Trying to stay alive. The Cannon Barrage comes down as well to try and trade back. But one more boomerang is all that's needed. He attacked the Wardos. It's still going to be enough. Demo Nick will get that kill onto the Sivir, but now will not be able to get away from the Kindred. Riddy, I believe, did get a mark from that kill as well. Underneath the turret is going the Alistar, and that will not work out. The turret wins that one. Sorry, Pig Pig. But still, that is going to be a very advantaged fight for the side of that's pretty even overall. It's a 3 for 2, I think, in favor of PSE down there, but Kindred getting a mark makes it pretty even. Now in the top lane 1v1, Submit going down pretty low. The barrel chain's going to be there, and that means that the Urgot will not. Gangplank starting to come out ahead in that matchup. And Shelly in the lane as well.
Those little nudges really added up. Submit is not looking like a
Panther, is he going to be able to get away? The answer is no. Already used the pool, and now yours sincerely is going to get a little bit more gold. Just a few creeps away from cashing in that call as well. And Zeri's quickly closing in on her first item. About 1,000 gold up, almost individually, actually, somehow. Is yours sincerely over Nick in that matchup, despite just getting killed by the Sivir a moment ago.
I'm actually pretty sure Yours Sincerely could have recalled right there to be able to get their shift, but opting to get the XP from that wave and then reset is probably going to be their thought process here. As it looks like the Michigan Project over here, Manhattan Project, has gotten to their first items. Is going to be looking very scary very quickly. Two scaling teams, but the Manhattan Project is getting off the ground quite quickly. The Essence Reaver in the back pocket of Shannon Landscape does give them a lot of power to work with in this lane, since Submit put behind was forced onto tab eyes early instead of trying to force their way into anything. So it's going to be very slow going for him to try to be able to get his way into this game. But right now, Top Prodigy looks like they want to match to be able to try to keep that on this Dragon fight. Things could be very important.
Here comes that Panther, looking like 3v3 shaping up in this bot side river. In comes some more members. 4v4. Smite does go to Top Prodigy. Diego blocks that one away for PSE. Pig on the front lines has the headbutt. Try and get Diego into a position where he can be burst down, but that will not happen. It's the Alistar who goes down first, and then the resets come through for Top Prodigy as a huge headbutt pulverized with a stolen Alistar, and that will set up PSE to carry through the team fight. But we do have Yours Sincerely doing some work on the back end of this one. Can he win out? The exhaust comes through for Nick. The boomerang, the auto attack as the AD parries take each other down.
I actually think we're seeing PSE pulling out resoundingly ahead on that one. We have Submit still off to the side, able to take those plating. And this is now a 7-0 Viego, who is getting ready to get to their second item. They're going to start getting really big really fast. But holy crap, man. Pig Boss Moo being the first to fall actually ended up being what won that team fight so convincingly.
Yeah.
Being able to get the pulverized combo onto a Viego for that reset is insane, as interesting interaction with
a nice buffer from Submit on the Urgot dash, able to actually get away from Pig's headbutt pole combo. So good Urgot mechanics there.
I didn't think that was the interaction into headbutt from Urgot E, if I'm honest with you. Learn something new every day.
I mean, the timing's got to be really precise, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure.
Brought him back to his original line. I thought it would have been a little bit more like that spin flip. You just kind of get the line that you're given and you don't throw a fit, you know?
Yeah, I'm really... Headbutt pulverized on the Top Prodigy here. The 7-0 Viego maybe in trouble. He's getting put to sleep. He does have Heartbreaker to go inside, but create a little bit of space that was needed. Pig. Oh, that blast going to put the Alistar in a really dangerous position. Now Submit is actually dashing forward, and they're going to be able to burst down the Kindred, who didn't have ultimate. Oh dear, and now that is going to be... Wait, Viego taken down as well as he took over the Kindred's body. He made himself more squishy. And now the trade of the junglers. That's a huge shutdown that went over to... Oh, it was Alistar, I think, that picked up the huge Viego.
Yes, it was. I was just about to talk about it because that broke my heart. If you want... On the side of PSE, if anyone's going to get your shut down, you want it to be Pig. Like that, they're just going to be consistently the same level of BT for the most part a lot of this game. Coming crashing in with the unbreakable will. So, you know about what you expect when you go there. But if Stream Guts or really...
Oh, that's so unlucky for Yours Sincerely. He's going to pop the Ghost, and it's not going to be enough move speed as Panther had the flash to just immediately jump on that electric rat. That was honestly so unlucky, though. Yours Sincerely just walks into a bush that happens to be warded and just gets immediately flashed on.
Things are getting scary.
Oh, Top Prodigy could get burst down once again here. Nice flash from the Viego to create enough space. Trouble to land on the Urgot over the wall. The flash forward from Extreme Guts for the Giga Battlestar. One-shots the Urgot, and now Top Prodigy pushed completely out of his own jungle. And surely likely going to be surprised now for Manhattan Project.
Like I was saying, Diego, Top Prodigy, absolutely ginormous. Don't get me wrong. But more of the Manhattan Project is off the ground at the moment, so those fights are going to be looking very scary until we see Top Prodigy grouping with Panther more. Because the extra damage that you get off of Hemo Plates is incredibly valuable right now. Especially even with the damage this fight happening, if you're able to hold it for just a little bit.
1v1 in the bot lane. Hemo Play coming down onto Yours Sincerely, who will not land the Extendo Beam. Now Panther's just biding his time, waiting for that Q2 to recharge. We're looking back at the top side river right now. The Shirley fight is also breaking out as the fight between Vladimir and Zeri looks to be potentially disengaged for the moment. Surely will go over the way of PS Elementary as the Manhattan Project, for some reason, were not able to lock that one away after winning the previous fight. So now the slide and glide over the wall to get Sincerely back out towards safety. Shirley makes her way into the mid lane. Nice block from Shima. And Shirley will be successful in her fight against the tier 1 turret.
I mean, MVP Shirley, am I?
You absolutely are, as it often is. Now, oh dear, really wanted that scuttle grab. Will get the grab, but at what cost? Griffin has come out. Oh, a nice headbutt. And top Prodigy's been taken down. Demo Nick now on the front lines, trying to throw out as many boomerangs as he can, but it's just nearly enough. As 2 quick kills going over the Manhattan Project and the bottom.
Too much of PSE was away from that fight. Top Prodigy, I see what they were going for with Demo Nick and Shima not too far behind there, but they need the rest of the team there to be able to try to keep priority on these objectives, because now they've headed away after Earthquake that they didn't have to, but they were getting overzealous around their resets. These team fights.
This is a mark as well. This is actually huge. This is mark number 10 for Riddy on the Kindred. He is well ahead of the pace of this game right now.
Riddy is eating good. Cracking Slayer and enough gold to be able to get pretty close to another item. But also in the back pocket of your Sincerely, they're about to have another team.
Okay, Vladimir looking for your Sincerely here, who is a little bit greedy looking for that tier 1 turret. It looks like it will cost Zeri her life. Already used the slide, and so that will be the kill given over to top Prodigy number 9 for the Viego. As we do have a pretty close game on our hands here, though, people.
I mean, on paper, a lot of this gold is kind of centered all around top Prodigy, so whoever has been playing so far, absolutely whistling in this series getting caught out free.
Very dead, yeah. What were we trying to set up there,
Very gone there. Interesting. Also, Ferelius has not cracked my game yet. I am kind of scared. I am. This is what my group is. We're just eating tower damage?
Is he dead? He's not dead. Okay, the Alistair will survive. The turret will not. Stream Guts is in 1v1 with the Vladimir, and oh, it's very close actually, but a dot will cause Spanther to emerge victorious. Oh, that's unfortunate for Stream Guts. The Zoe was put on so much pressure throughout the landing phase in this game. This is smart from Panther. Oh, I think he even dodged away on that cannon drive with the pool. Oh, but didn't allow enough time, so the kill will still go through over to Zoe. Yours Sincerely, a nice dash over the wall. About going back in, Zeri created a lot of space though. Then goes Rakan with the quickness, grand entrance, and Nick with the long range boomerang to clean up that kill on the enemy marksman. Really nice setup there from the Rakan. And now 5 or 4v4 on the Rift for the next few seconds.
Oh, maybe more, maybe?
I think we're not.
No, okay, they might be getting out, no problem. I think Submit's scary, though. Them crab legs is not made for walking.
Yeah, he's trying to scuttle. He does not have a turret here. He does not have a tier 1 turret, and the combo's going to be back up for Pig Pig. So, yeah, this is looking like a pretty dead Urgot on my screen. He almost made it back to the tier 2, but almost got it in League of Legends. We do have Panther going in here on the Vladimir, despite just losing his top laner. There's a 1v1 on the side that Viego is going to win out against Stream Guts. What happened to Panther? I guess he decided to back off in the end. We do have the Trouble Bubble. The stolen Trouble Bubble will not find the target. Heartbreaker over the wall. Top Prodigy on the chase with the Hallowed Mist. Trying to do some Alpha Gaming now on the side of the Manhattan Project. Take huge and but pulverize. On to 3, but the pool is back off. Cooldown for Panther. And Breastfed will come out. Vladimir's still alive over here on the back line. The Q from Chen finish the job. And now the Vladimir's back in with the empowered Q. The Silver does go down, but Panther and Viego will be enough to carry through the team fight for PS Elementary. And now they will look towards the barrier.
I was just about to talk about the fact that, yes, it looks like it's PSE is ahead on paper, but it's very much isolated to the upper body. But Manhattan Project absolutely dashed the ribbons there when they tried to encounter that. Panther didn't do a lot of secondary damage. There was different teams like doing something. The Angel Spike from Riddy was very good for being able to keep it alive a little bit longer. But might not be enough right now if they can't nail down Top Prodigy. Yours Sincerely was able to claw back the tower though, and honestly that might be the difference. Big Seed not being there to be able to add that little bit of extra damage while running around and a little bit of a mosquito on the wall might be just what they need to be able to make some of these things like happen, but a lot of gold in the back pocket of Spanther. They're at 2 items, getting ready to go to Gold Staff, as well as Demo Nick has had some very well placed boomerangs to clean up people just as we thought they were going to get out of dodge.
Yeah, there are a lot of strong champions in this game right now, Loki. It really just comes down to who's going to get the jump on who, as the side of PS Elementary push their way into the South River to gain some control ahead of the second Mountain Dragon spawning in 30 seconds.
This might very well end up being another game that goes all the way out until those Elder Dragons happen. The way that it's being played, Manhattan Project is trying to be able to hit those breaks and slow down the tempo that PSC has had so far. But Top Prodigy really seems like they want to put that pedal down and get moving. The absolute dominance in those team fights has been insane. As it seems like they're looking at players.
Great macro call.
You can have your mark. We'll take mid.
Yeah, I mean, they knew, PS Elementary knew that Manhattan Project had vision control of the river, right? They even had the scuttle trap as well, so they're like, that's okay, we won't contest that, we can get rid of the mid lane, push down to the inhibitor. Now, Big Pig on the flank, finds a little bit of headbutt, but Rise now flash away, trying to stay alive. That is a lot of damage from the Zeri ultimate. The Rakan will be the first casualty, and Sivir will be next, so it's going to be TMP looking to win out in this team fight, so that's going to be Panther stepping up a little bit too far forward, and will get taken down. There's a double kill over the Kindred, and now Submit is going to be the next to fall. It's just a rout in the mid lane. PS Elementary could not manage to rally themselves together as they were getting collapsed on from both sides. TMP get the objective plus the team fight, and now they're pushing down mid.
Cassie had some very good positioning around that fight for just a moment, avoiding those battle stars, but hard to dodge Riddy. Riddy has a lot of damage after ready to run people down. Well, that's now I do believe. Sitting there and a Conqueror that gets sunk very quick. That is horrifying to look at right now.
Crazy
well
Kindred game.
Yeah, Zeri also just being around, that's a lot of area damage that's happening. Looking to very quickly and effective contact. Being able to have more survivability work with his Top Prodigy is starting to look like the Riddy of last game this go around. As we just don't care, they're positioning
Will steal away that red buff. That's kind of big, honestly, getting that away from the Kindred.
Honestly. We're gonna see the Trojan boys go down. But this is, in general, very much.
Top Prodigy's a face back to barrel, and he almost blows the high hell. But Cannon Barrage will come out. And now Samanosuke is fighting back. This is a 2v5, and the two are winning it. Riddy and Samanosuke are so powerful right now in this game. In comes the rest of the team. Now the Paddle Star will connect over the wall, and the triple kill gets picked up by the Pirate. Our matey, there's that silly gameplay that you wanted to see. Loki has streamed us a little bit too far forward now. And Top Prodigy, though, he picked up the Zoe body, but that does mean he gets a reset. Heartbreaker onto Riddy's Kindred, who did use the Land of Respect, flashing in his Panther. Looking to carry the fight like he did in game number 1. And it's just the pig now. Oh, never mind. Actually, yours sincerely, the Electric Rat on her way. Should be enough to clean up this Blood Mage. Panther did have the pullback off cooldown. Is going to get the E execute onto the Yellow Star. The Empowered Q as well for a little bit more healing. But the Zeri damage is just too much. 3 items completed for yours sincerely. And will complete the 5v4 team fight victory for TMP.
Yeah, Samanosuke just kind of took a detour and took some towers bot lane too. That's kind of what we were talking about earlier though, with the fact that laning phase we were expecting to be rough for Samanosuke, but once those team fights break out, it's really hard to try to get rid of those barrels. So the damage tends to feel like it's sort of inevitable. Right, just ripping apart multiple members very fast, and they have. what is it? I think they have 100% crit chance right now to working with. No, 90%. So most of the time, that's 2,000 damage a barrel.
Quickness, Shirelia's pop lockdown there onto Sincerely, who is sincerely and truly dead at this point in time. 5v4 now for PS Elementary. Here, next 40 seconds or so, which is when the Baron spawns. So yours sincerely will just barely be up in time to fight for the Purple Worm.
So while we have this little bit of downtime, what is your favorite buff?
My favorite buff?
Your
like
favorite
in League
buff.
of Legends?
Yeah.
Like in terms of like buffs that you can get on something like red buff, blue buff,
To be
Baron
determined.
buff. Oh, what was that?
To be determined.
Okay, so it's just any kind of League of Legends related buff.
Yeah.
What an interesting question. I'm going to ponder that one a little bit, I think. I don't have it in front of me right now. The team fight is coming to us in the imminent future. Shima is going to get taken down as he goes in with the quickness. Rakan was not able to find an escape route. Now 5v4 for PS Elementary once again is Pig, or 5v4 rather for the Manhattan Project, excuse me, a killer, or the Heartbreaker forward to try and finish off the Yellow Star, but it's not going to work out as the Blast Cone is there to get Pig out towards safety. The Manhattan Project now can attempt to chase forward for a little bit more here. Rizzy's a little bit low on health, but continues up with flashing it. It's going to be submitted. What top? The Kindred can't get the Lamb's Respite off in time. It's a giga play from the Urgot. The top laner of PS Elementary just takes the game into his own crab leg.
I was getting ready to comment on the fact that very early on we saw the Fear Beyond Death and onto Lady, causing that very passive gameplay that we saw for a moment there. But Submit really just starting to come into form, taking that flashing gas field, which blocked them out just long enough to avoid the Lamb's Respite, which has been a lot of Riddy's saving grace this game. Being able to have a couple more moments to just calm this fight down while they wait for the rest of the cavalry to come in. And it's just down to Pig Boss Moon to hang out with these minions for a little bit, as we're seeing 4 items in the hands of Top Prodigy, 3 in the hands of Panther. They're starting to get absolutely massive. And that's almost 2 full items that Submit was just able to purchase. So PSE are looking incredibly scary, as we're going to be seeing the big purple worm as the next mark on World.
Yeah, it's actually going to the Manhattan Project that are straight onto the objective here, and they're going to do it extremely quickly with a Kindred who's this far ahead of Diego around the backside of the pit here. Does have ult and smite, can get in here, the Top Prodigy, but is not going to be in time. He didn't have any vision. There was no way to actually go for that, but the team fight is what they're setting up for right now. The side of Manhattan Project are a little bit scattered at the moment as Panther goes straight into the pit. Will zero out the enemy mid laner, but will then take it down himself. Not pushing down 2 in return. The Cannon Barrage, though, is going to give a double kill over to Samanosuke, the top laner of the Manhattan Project. Submit now on the front lines, trying to shoot as many legs as he can, but that is going to be a dead Urgot as well, as a triple kill goes over to the gangplank, and now it's just Top Prodigy, the last survivor, and Yours Sincerely is looking to rectify that immediately, glides over the wall, hoping to chase down this Diego, or at least stop him from resetting, as Gangplank and Alistar push down mid with the Baron buff.
Honestly, it looks like Top Prodigy is just going to opt for trying to yank this inhib. And with the way it's flying, they just have to do a little bit of dancing around. That's a lot more to help hold with. Well, Samanosuke is really good at taking these waves, as we've seen all game. That's 2 inhibitors getting ready to go into the hands of the Manhattan Project.
At least Top Prodigy will make it out, right? Will survive, won't get chased down by the Zeri, but certainly still a very favorable play for the Manhattan Project. Actually, Diego trying to cut off the retreat path now. Samanosuke is maybe fast enough to get away from this one. Pig's looking a little bit less likely, as Top Prodigy will get taken down by the Gangplank before he himself does fall. Yours Sincerely now is here. Is going to get Hemoblade cast on him, though. Glides over the wall, but the triple kill goes through to Panther on the Vladimir, who had such a rough start here in Game 2 against Stream Guts as Zoe, but has rallied so incredibly well.
That's exactly what PSE wants to see. That little bit of overzealousness that we saw from the Manhattan Project. getting rid of their early lead previously.
That triple bubble did not land, and is always in so much trouble now. You can't just walk up to a level 17 Vladimir like that and expect it to end well for you. And now we have a 4v1 on Summoner's Rift for a short while as PSE find themselves on the offensive.
And honestly, seeing PSE back in this driver's seat after such a strong shutout for a moment there is really nice to see. But we have a Gangplank that is full build getting ready to come into these team fights. And has so much kill potential just by existing near it. Demo Nick is going to be taking the boost fast. Listen right now.
Pulverize comes out, Pulverize onto 2, and they are going to one-shot Nick, who just didn't get a chance to play the game. Now Urgot is going to get taken down as well. The full crit plank is really just blowing people to high hell. That is going to put a very quick stop to the attempted siege from PS Elemental.
I mean, it's 2023. ADCs are out.
Seriously. Well, you should have just... was Ziggs banned this time? I don't remember.
Yeah. You just blink and you miss Nick, though, as we're seeing the Heartbreaker once again being used to pull away from the fight rather
That means
than...
no Viego ultimate, though, for the team fight around the Nexus turrets. This is looking quite good for the Manhattan Project now as they shepherd in this mid wave. We do have Panther up on the flank on the top side of the base. Nexus turret's already under fire. Top Prodigy could easily get dove here. Panther is coming in, and that is going to be the Hemoplague. 2 Landsburst does come out to create a little bit of time for the side of the Manhattan Project, and that is going to be enough time, it seems, to win out in the fight as my client is lagging really bad right now. But it does seem that actually PSE has managed to hang on.
I mean, you will no longer have to stream your POV because it does not look like we're going to have anything that crashes my game. We are A-okay as the Manhattan Project is very aggressively positioned here, I'd add, to be able to try to keep that map pressure going into this next dragon. And getting ever closer to that soul point, should they possibly the rest of this lead away, they have the inevitability of a soul to work with. And really, absolutely done. 16 marks on the Kindred. They're going to be pelting everyone from downtown all day. It's an absolute artillery strike coming out from the Manhattan Project with these barrels, with the Kindred bow. So much range. This is a really bad start right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Vladimir in a whole bunch of trouble. Will not get away from that one as Samanosuke claims another victim.
With the respawn timer being about a full minute, that's not where you want to be. Samanosuke dropped back, grabbed another item, grabbed themselves a little pot for the
There's
road.
That 100% crit.
And here we have it. It's going to potentially all come down to this last push. It's a 4v5 this next fight. Sorry, 4v3 for the time being. So we've seen a 2v5 happen already.
Okay, the quickness Aurelius pops out from Rakan. Will be able to get on the back line, gets off a nice charm there, but is it nice enough? The follow-up just wasn't quite there in time, and now the return fire comes out in force as Nick will not be able to survive. Flashing forward to submit once again, looking for another big play, but this time around will not be able to find it as the Manhattan Project tie us up in tonight's best of 3, 1 apiece.
Huge shout out to the and being able to really accelerate their own scaling on each champion is super important for being able to have a good mid into later game while they wait for the rest of the team to catch up. And You're Sincerely picked up a couple solo kills onto Panther, who had a very dominant display in game 1, giving us a lot to look forward to in this next game. Who's your player of the game so far?
Oh man, you knew I was gonna come to you with that one, so you thought you'd just jump the gun, huh, Loki? All right, then.
Yeah.
I see. Well,
There's a little portal hop.
let's take a quick think about this. I mean, I do think it's probably between the Kindred and the Gangplank here. I do like that Riddy, definitely took a little bit of a pivot this time around. We were obviously on the Nocturne previously in game number 1. This time around, the Kindred, a little bit of a different look. And I think the Kindred did do a great job of facilitating themselves to get that early lead, as you just mentioned, Loki. So I definitely think that's a strong contender. But I think my vote would have to go to Semenosuke on the Gangplank because it had the R5 pick. It had the
Mhm.
confidence to take that into what you were informing us, before the game was a pretty difficult matchup, and then really ended up making the most of it. I think was like 3-0 up during the lane
Sure.
phase over submit this time around, and was absolutely dominant in the team fights later on as well. There were so many crits that just like decided those fights. It felt
Poor
like.
Nick.
Yeah, and it didn't allow Demo Nick to play any League of Legends, of course. So that was pretty impressive from Semenosuke as well.
Yeah, Nick just got sent back to do their homework. I would also give it to Samanosuke. It's definitely between Samanosuke and Riddy. I was
Yeah.
leaning really hard into Riddy because they just kind of had to accept the fact that Top Prodigy was going for that map split, and they really made the most out of it.
True. Yeah.
They they got to tuck everything on into their shopping cart for Wolf, kept him nice and fed, got him his little snackums, and continued to run amok in this game. At one point, forcing submit on that back foot. They were 0-3 with most of those kills going into Riddy's little rat paws for a moment to be able to just become a monster. But as well as those Lamb's respites, whenever they came out, honestly completely turned team fights in the favor of the Manhattan Project a couple times when things were looking dark. Spanther had some really good hemo plagues that were just completely stopped in their tracks because they forgot to lock Riddy out.
Yeah, absolutely. It does deny a lot of the value of the Hemoplague, right? If you are able to hold on to the Lamb's Respite until Vladimir casts his ultimate, then you can really mitigate a lot of what the champion wants to do. But I do think we are somewhat aligned here in giving that POG vote to Semenosuke here. For this one, did manage to top out the damage charts as well, just under 60K this time around. Nobody
Much more
breaking
manageable.
100K.
Yeah, much more manageable numbers.
Yeah. So it makes a little bit more sense here. But that is going to do it for game number 2, guys. We do have a third and final game for you tonight as our teams seem to be very closely matched. So it should be a banger. You don't want to miss it.
I want to see an Aesol.
It's Acel. We could see it.
More on that later, though. Bye bye.
Right. All right, everybody, VTS fans, it is time for the deciding and final game 3. We are already into our pick and ban for this last game. It does appear that the Manhattan Project, after losing game 2, have decided to move things back on over to the blue side. I believe blue side, no, wait, actually, red side won game 1. So it's the red side that's 2-0 tonight, and PSC are back on it.
I mean, I do like me a Raspberry Jolly Rancher. Let's look at these bans for a second. Getting rid of Panthers, Vladimir, and an Ash ban. I didn't think Ash provided that much in the first game.
Yeah, I mean, they did ban it away in the game 2 draft as well for TMP. So clearly, you know, their mentality is a little bit different than yours. And the Vladimir is actually going to get removed this time as well. So we will be seeing Panther on something different. The Kindred will be B1 for Riddy, who of course did have that great performance on it in that game number 2.
Yeah, Riddy on Kindred is definitely a sight to behold. They're doing a really good job of getting all of their stacks together and just running amok, as that's an Alistar Varus bot lane getting taken. And it looks like a Gangplank lock-in just a moment here. Some spicy picks coming out. How do you feel about Varus?
Varus, I feel, is not in an amazing place right now. He was quite strong like last year. I want to say like around this time last year, like for last Worlds, I feel like Varus was pretty meta. But these days, you know, they nerfed, I believe, his lethality build pretty severely, and like you can go on hit Varus right now. It's definitely viable, but I think the consensus is just that a lot of other champions do the on hit build better than Varus does, so he just doesn't have too much of a place right now, but certainly can still be a strong laner with some pretty long range and some setup as well with the ultimate.
Yeah, I think Alistar is a really good setup that could have used a more aggressive AD carry in this case. If we're going off of the like slightly not meta but still could go, I think Lucian could have been a really interesting pickup as just one of those examples of a very aggressive AD carry to run off of the Alistar engine. But I want to highlight a very interesting choice coming out from PSE, getting top prodigy Lee Sin. A much more aggressive jungler could give Kindred a run for her money early into this game.
Yeah, the Lee Sin's a pretty classic counter pick into the Kindred. You know, one of the first counter picks that people kind of discovered after Kindred was released. The Lee Sin, of course. It's pretty straightforward how that one works. You just kick the Kindred off of their own ultimate, and then theoretically you can kill them. So that's, you know, it can be a little bit difficult to execute, but we'll have some fun keeping track of that jungle matchup as the Cho'Gath can get locked away here for PSC on R4.
Nom.
Indeed.
Just taking a little bit of bite out of the Manhattan Project. It's going to be the game plan. Hang off to the side, get big and chunky, and have a good old time, as Silas might be doing the exact same later on in this game. But I really like Silas Tarek to round off this team comp, honestly.
As do I. Oh, go ahead.
Having Tarek with his dazzling gleams, to have someone very mobile like Silas, is really good for helping lock down a lot of the team, as well as that ultimate being able to add a lot more survivability to Jhin, add a lot more survivability to Kindred in the event that their get out jail free button has been compromised. They have a little bit more time to be able to get to that Lamb's respite, and I think Swain is an interesting pickup here to potentially go mid. A bit chunky, has a good amount of sustained damage, and can definitely deal with tanks very well. I'm not sure how I feel about using them in a burst mage slot to be able to deal with the fact that TMP, as far as I'm concerned, isn't the hardest to front to back if we have that on-hit Varus. That's already a lot of damage being dealt to some of the people who build just health and no real physical defenses, which we're seeing in that Silas and in that Gangplank. I'm not sure what they're worried about burning through.
Yeah, the Swain is definitely an interesting choice there on the R5. I guess it's the thought process for PSC. It might just be that they expect the fights to go longer, right? And if you do have these really long, drawn-out fights, then Swain can find a lot of value, kind of regardless of the tankiness of your opponents. But certainly, you know, there maybe is some room for debate there in terms of like maybe some other mid lane picks would have been better, you know, in those kinds of situations. But I think I do kind of see what the thought process is, at least for Panther over there. And of course, didn't have the option to go for the Vladimir this time around, which maybe he would have preferred. So had to think of something else, and Swain will end up being the option. But I actually really, and you talked about this a little bit already as well, Yogi, but that Taric pick seems like an insane counter pick to me. It's really great into the Alistar, and the combo with Kindred is phenomenal as well. Being able to have such a massive window of invulnerability, assuming that the Taric and the Kindred are communicating well and on the same page about when they're dropping those ultimates, because it can also feel really underwhelming too, right? If they use those ultimates at the same exact time, and you get your Taric invulnerability at the same time as your Kindred invulnerability, and then it feels like one of them was wasted.
Yeah.
So that definitely feels like it feels honestly like some pretty high execution on both sides with this Game 3 draft.
I am kind of leaning over towards PSC a little bit more as far as trying to roll this game out goes. But should we end up in for the long haul, really can't have another one of those games where the gears start grinding and those eyes start rolling to the back of your heads. I think we'll see a TMP squeak out ahead.
You think we'll see TMP squeak out ahead? Is that?
I think we'll see them squeak out ahead towards the end of the game if it goes long, since we've already seen ADCs aren't allowed to play the game.
Right? That's very true. That is very true. Of course, you know, PSE do have a little bit more beef this time around. You know, they've got the Lee Sin jungle, the Swain mid, which both are going to be stacking up some HP at least, right? So, you know, the crits from the Gangplank might not be the true one-shots that we were seeing in the previous game, but we will just have to wait and see. Sorry, what was that, Loki?
It gets pretty close when they have that
Yeah.
LDR in the back pocket.
don't
So
have to
Lord
be
Dominic's
afraid of
regards are quite spooky. I would not want to meet that man.
Yeah, Lord Dominic certainly could be sending some more messages here in this one, so we'll keep our ears posted for that as well. But it is interesting, right? Riddy and Samanosuke on the Kindred Gangplank once again are two frontrunners for POG right after game number 2. And they did get their hands on those extremely strong comfort picks for themselves once again. At least this time around, PSE did have more of an opportunity to respond to those picks during the drafting phase, as they were obviously on red side, so they had the opportunity to get those counter picks. But the question, Loki, is like, were they able to get enough? Because the Kindred, Riddy, and the Samanosuke Gangplank in the previous game looked nearly unbeatable.
Yeah, Riddy has been really good about playing very aggressively in the other team's jungle, so him picking up Kindred seems like it fits like a glove. And another thing we're not really talking about too much, Stream Guts on Silas. These are some really good ultimates to take. I think worst case ultimate for him to take will usually be either Lee Sin or Swain, because the Chain of Corruption from Varus is a lot of disruption, a lot of damage, since they're going to have a lot of ability power in their back pocket. Cho'Gath, you can fairly consistently get an execute fairly consistently out of that as Silas, and just getting more health to be able to sustain yourself as you do it is incredible. Or Alistar ult, getting a crowd control cleanse to be able to get that clutch set of W's out and be able to be significantly tankier for the rest of the fight. It is going to be hard to lock Stream Guts out of these fights.
Yeah, I think that's a great point as well. The Silas seems like a great selection for TMP. And for the mid laner there, I'm completely blanking. Stream Guts for that player is probably going to find a lot of value into what the opposing team has drafted. And you mentioned a little bit earlier on, Loki, that you did feel that it was probably going to be the side of the Manhattan Project that ends up edging things out if we do go late. Is that your official prediction? Are you feeling like they probably take it, running back the Riddy Kindred and the Samanosuke Plank?
Yeah, let's see if I can go 3 for 3 on predictions for this evening. I'm going to stand by the Manhattan Project on this one.
All right. And they also do have the momentum, of course, after game number 2, but we have to remember that Red Side has been 2-0 so far tonight. So will that be enough, along with their answers in Champion Select phase for PS Elementary, to bring them back and get the win tonight, or will it be the Manhattan Project to carry things through? On to the Rift we go for one more time tonight after this quick break. everybody, on to the Rift we go for the last time tonight. Manhattan Project versus PS Elementary. Manhattan Project back onto the blue side now. PS Elementary on the back foot after that second game, now back to the red side.
Yeah, so far it's been favoring the Raspberry Jolly Rancher over the Blue Raspberry thus far, which has been really interesting to see. But I asked this earlier, we've had some time to sit on it. What is your favorite buff in this game?
You know, I did give this some thought, and I am going to go with the food buff. I always play better after a nice meal, you know? So, and it's just good to remember to eat also just in general. So, that's going to be my answer.
So, for out-of-game buffs, I do like the vacation buff. You step away from the game, you come back, and it feels like the game just slips you right on in that false sense of security of, oh my god, I am good at this. But as for buffs that have been in the game, my favorite buff was old Gangplank E, the parlay, moving speed, Borda Boys, and that attack speed.
So that must be the reason why you asked the question originally, right? Is for the so you could reference the old Gangplank passes.
Back in my day, you know, shaking my fist at that cloud.
Yeah. I mean, as a jungler, if I'm going with in-game buffs, I'd probably just have like a boring answer, like just red buff is my favorite.
I mean, Brambleback has my favorite person.
Smile. Everyone is watching.
Absolutely. He's, you know,
A little grouchy.
He is. He's got some sacks. Brambleback. We haven't been killing any Bramblebacks just yet. We are gonna pulverize the minion wave. That's okay. Those minions were really asking for it. And yeah, both junglers are just gonna be clearing up towards that top lane this time around, Loki.
And Spanther right now is putting on a good amount of pressure for these early stages.
Oh yeah, but that might come back to bite him as Stringos goes in for a big trade right as the jungler moves over to try and take down this Swain, who will flash over the wall to stay alive.
Truly. Out.
I spit my words for just a moment there. That got a little spooky for Spanther. Yeah, ain't no stress. Ain't no stress in the Spanther there. Stringos had a really good engagement to start that off and just get that chunk very convincing. Look at Riddy. Riddy is once again over in terrain that he should not be in, wanting to bully Top Prodigy, who is just vibing. This man is continuing to be disrespectful.
Yeah, Riddy with some classic Riddy gameplay there. Looking to put on that early pressure once again, but Top Prodigy not going to be having it. It is, in fact, the Cho'Gath now moving in to try and bother the Kindred a little bit, but won't really be too successful in that attempt. The blue buff has been secured. And where's the mark? It looks like it is on that South Crab, and we do see Shima and Demo Nick trying to take this one down before Kindred can make their way over. Will they be in time? The smite is not available for Riddy, so it's going to come down to a big old flip. I didn't see who got it. I think it may have been the Owlstar who secured the last hit onto that Scuttle Trap, but he's going to get stunned up now by the Dazzle. Pig flashing forward now, trying to get this lockdown onto the cow, but he's not going to be able to make it happen. And now Top Prodigy is here to defend the support, but will not be taking in that Sonic Wave for the Resonating Strike. And it will be disengaged, but yes, it looks like that mark was denied from the king.
Passion.
This is what we were talking about between games a little bit. The ability to deny Mark gets so hard for PSG when they split the jungle so tight. Fan out. It's a lot easier to be able to play the full map and just try to control where Riddy is at that point in time and keep them out of your
Top Prodigy. Yeah, made his way up here. Resonating Strike will connect this time around. Rupture sidestep. Really nice from the Gangplank. Good movement from Seminosuke. There's our game 2 POG. Didn't even have to flash.
Yeah, so very good gameplay from both sides, surviving this early game. When before, I think we already had 3 kills happen at around this stage of the game, both games.
Yeah, pretty.
Oh!
Really there. Very close for Prodigy.
And you'll never know.
Was the Gangplank recalling in that bush? Yeah, he just doesn't know.
Still a little sneaky, as it looks like it really wants to prioritize mid more this game. And I don't think they still have not shifted their mark off of the top Prodigy. And might have to reset instead. Spanther is not giving them a lot to
Yeah, both junglers still waiting for their first reset as Panther takes an enormous trade in this mid lane as Sheena has moved over. Is going to headbutt that Kindred into the mid lane as get out of this push. Kindred, chains land. Dream Guts underneath the turret. Swain will survive as will release him. Now Sheila is right into the thick of things and the resonating strike will connect, but Silas is level 6 and it's so hard to actually go in for this fight. The first blood will go over to Riddy's Kindred and it's TMP off to the races.
Yeah, I was just talking about taking that Unbreakable Will into the hands of Stream Guts makes it so hard to finish that kill. And lo and behold, that's the first ultimate grab. Panther!
Didn't land the chains. Demonic Ascension going to come out, and that is going to be the difference. Panther makes him pay for missing those chains and finds the 1v1 in mid lane. That is the total on the scoreboard as well as the mark, I believe, on this Scuttle Crab once again. Submit, moving forward, trying to deny Kindred from getting this one. Riddy just needs one more auto attack, and the smite will get that mark. And now it's Panther, who's low HP, never went for the recall on the Swain. Just moved over to here to help out, and it will work out just fine for that mid laner as they manage to get the kill onto Pig. So a mark for the Kindred in exchange for the support Slate. How do you feel about this trade?
I mean, the stonks are stonking for Riddy, but I think Pig Boss is feeling a little bit slighted by that. At least they were able to get something out of it. It's kind of the big bottom line. We're going to be looking to scale this one for the long haul anyway. And the fact that Submit did not have the feast at the ready to one from that Scuttle Crab, I think it's just unfortunate prioritization on PSU's part. They could have continued to bury Kindred to not have a single mark a lot longer, but now that you've given the mouse a cookie, I think they're going to try to take a kingdom.
Yeah, that is going to be the likely avenue for the Kindred from this point. I'm not quite sure when the feast was used for submit, like if it was on the minion wave right before moving down. Earlier back, Stream Guts goes in, lands the chains this time around onto the Swain, who's going to have to flash away to try and stay alive underneath the turret, but he can't create enough space, and it's just going to be the double kill over to Stream Guts. Does have the support of Pig as well as that Cannon Barrage coming through. Chain Corruption lands in the bot side river, and Nick finds some redemption for PSE.
Yeah, the chains of corruption are so hard to escape, especially since Riddy does not have the ultimate online quite yet. But Stream Guts is starting to go off. So many good ultimates to take. There's a Demonic Ascension on him, giving him so much confidence to just dive that tower a little bit and chunk them out. Send Panther back to the fountain. But that kill onto Riddy prevents an early Infernal Drake, which is a very strong dragon to get that early slot on these team comps that are already looking to scale.
Whoa! Top Prodigy lands the Sonic Wave, goes in with Resonating Strike, already took out about 50%, though does have a support here, Shima in with the headbutt pulverize onto the AD carry. Yours sincerely now on the retreat, looking to get back underneath the tier 1, will flash in order to make sure he is able to do so. Nobody going down in this bot lane. Dragon, the Infernal Dragon, as you were just talking about, Loki, still alive, and it will be PSE now onto that objective.
Don't see a play where the Michigan Project can get anything out of this. I'm really messing up my M name today, huh?
Are you from Michigan?
I mean, I'm from Snow, but that's different. But Liddy is going to go shopping once again in the enemy jungle to be able to try to grab a mark. And we see if Panther's able to get it away. I think Liddy might have so before not in this moment here. As it looks like we have the Pig Boss move making the way over to this Shelly as well. It could be a huge gold swing coming in deeper into the Manhattan Project's favor in the moment here. Seminosuke, he's been big chilling. He has gotten to just hang out, stack up his money, and get on going with it. And Submit is opting to go with the Heartsteel. It's a really strong mythic. It is a great tank mythic. Don't get me wrong, I'm not sure how I feel about it. It is great to see for the helm, but I feel like it's going for just general teamfight presence. An adaptive helm might serve you better. I could be completely mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, Hardsteel is probably going to feel much better for the 1v1 at least. But certainly you're not going to be as tanky in those team fights. So we'll see how that goes for the Cho'Gath later on. As we did see Shelly just now getting secured by VTS Elementary. How far is he going to have that in the trinket?
I will also say I do enjoy the early Tiamat and going towards the Rapid Hydra for yours sincerely to be able to give them a bit of wave clear to be able to counter out Demo Nick on the Varus because he's cleaning up these waves so much nicer than Shin right now. Especially when you have Shima looking for any opportunity to dive right on down you. It looks like things might get hairy for yours. Sincerely, 4 people on the run.
Yeah, Take still level 5, doesn't have the Gleaming Brilliance. I think that's the character's name. With double TP though from the Soul Laners coming down to join the party. Swain is already here, and Top Prodigy has made his way straight onto the AD carry. Yours sincerely will be the first Palisade. Nick surviving for so long. How is Nick still alive? Eventually, he will get taken down. One more pistol shot from the gangplank. Barrel will connect onto the Alistar, but Samanosuke is stepped pretty far forward to try and make this one happen. Now he's going to flash back underneath the turret, and it will be Silence going to the chains that gets the kill onto the fort. Now Riddy is here with the Kindred. They should be able to clean up the rest of this team fight. The chains land once again onto the Jungler, the Lamb's Respite, to make sure the stream just doesn't go down, and that is going to be pretty clean team fighting from the Michigan project.
Incredible placement of the Cannon Barrage from Samanosuke to get us started, helping yours sincerely kite it out for a little bit longer to be able to get their team to have the space to really come in and clean. Those kills going on to Stream Guts. The rich get richer as that Rod of Ages is online, soon to have a Magi in 10 seconds. Riddy, Demo Nick, no!
Demo Nick's in a whole bunch of trouble. He's maybe about to get demoed, and yeah, that is what is going to occur. The turret shot will not be enough to finish off Riddy as the character ultimate has come down, and now we just have a lonely cow underneath this tier 1 turret. He has no help, and now he has no health bar, but Big is going to get taken down in return. How far is he going to make their way over? Flashing forward now to try and land another Q onto the Kindred, but the body block is there from the Silas. They did get the flash off of Riddy as well, so a trade of flash between the junglers as Sincerely finds a root with the deadly flash. Sidestep on the never move as well. The 4th shot, and he just takes him down. He just walks at him and puts a bullet in the brain of the Birdman. That is going to be Sincerely absolutely taking charge in mid.
That's huge. Sincerely being able to pick up that solo kill there is able to get more damage on the tower. Going to be getting ready to have a Ravenous Hydra as well in that back pocket. So it's a lot of sustainability as we're seeing Guts as the Magi. And more mobility in these team fights to be able to run amok. The Heartsteel from Submit not looking like it's going to pay out too much in this matchup though. Samanosuke has been doing a very good job of avoiding it getting stacked up. But things are looking very scary if you're PSC at the moment. Bearing down the barrel of quite a few very strong opponents. Riddy behind last game, admittedly, you know, only 5 stacks at 14 minutes, but they're looking a lot more manageable.
Yeah, the Kindred is still pretty strong though. I mean, has Kraken Slayer done already pretty early on. We are going to get Shelly summoned in the mid lane. We'll just barely be in time to secure these turret plates.
Everyone is
We'll
watching.
get that mid tier 1 down to about 2. Corrupted Stolen Chain over the wall, flips onto the Alistar, does get that chain onto the Swain as well, and Panther's gonna flash away, it still is gonna go down. Cho'Gath now flash away, but the chains will connect, and so many flashes getting burned right now for PS Elementary. I don't know if they're getting anybody out alive as Pig does get munched on by the Cho'Gath, but that will be the end of Submit. We will have to submit to the might of the Manhattan Project as they pick up the 3-for-1 team fight in Michigan.
That could have gone worse. Could have gone worse, but that's also one of the worst ultimates that Stream Guts can pick up. Chain of Corruption, a lot of value. Tons of value. But still, there's just so many good ultimates to pick from that Yours Sincerely is looking spooky. As they're playing around those bot laners. They've had some really good dance moves we're just seeing calm, cool, and collected from the Manhattan Project, tracking these side objectives and working their way into the map from the outside. As they're giving up another dragon, but they get 2 towers, 100 mark for it, and potential at the bottom turret. Stream Guts is going to grab that beast and just get stacking on their own.
Yeah, absolutely. It is the second dragon for PS Elementary. We do have an Ocean Soul on the table for us here in game number 3, but overall, you feel like that was probably... Hang on a second, actually, as the change doesn't go back in for Stream Guts. Submit is pretty tanky, though. This Cho'Gath is not really losing very much health. And he's going to be able to walk up, get another Heartsteel procced, and we're going in once again as Streamed Up with the Silas. Lee Sin is here now. We're in danger of getting outnumbered for the side of TMP. And they will choose now to back away. But I was about to ask you, do we think that Jin is... Oh, and my question actually has already been answered, because Ravenous Hydra is now in inventory for Sincerely.
Yeah, no, I saw that already being built on towards it. Looks like we might see either a rapid fire cannon or a storm raging. I don't see a way where a nerf will be able to end up doing a second item here. Usually either first or not at all.
Okay, we're going to flip the Riptide here in bot lane, and we will be very successful in doing so, as the Tarek ultimate there is brilliant. Yeah, will be enough to make that happen. Pretty easy stuff. Ready here on the other side of the map, though. This is Greedy from the Kindred, and it's looking like they will be absolutely punished for that one. Shutdown goes over the top part. Pretty Lee Sin.
Yeah, PSC has had a lot of good control over the neutral objectives this game, but they've given up a lot of their map to do so. It looks like they're going to be getting some objective bounty gold over on the top side with this Herald immediately getting caught to take it. I don't think that gold's enough to claw this one back quite yet. They have a lot more work to do. As we're seeing all on their lonesome, Your Sincerely is just confident pushing all the way up into enemy territory because they're all caught.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually hadn't even noticed the gold lead up to this point, Loki. But yeah, it is extremely substantial in favor of the Manhattan Project. They're up between 5 and 6K at the moment.
And it's fairly well spread out.
Indeed. Yeah, they've got the richest members are mid and bot, which feels pretty good for them. But everyone really is comfortably ahead of their opposition.
Yeah, Gangplank on 2 items, getting ready to go towards their third in a moment. A fully stacked Magi is 1 assist away from happening as well. That is horrifying. Silas, even without that Magi, has so much sustain to burn through these fights. And now you just gave them a fully stacked Magi, soon to be a demonic embrace, to be able to run it as well. That's not looking good for our EP lads over there. Panther, he's looking a little bit shook.
Not looking good for the Panther here. They're looking to be maybe put in the zoo. There goes Stream Guts, picking up number 9. And there is that last page in the book.
Yeah, no, instead of the Magi's, it looks like they're writing the death note at this point. Call our boy Stream Guts the next Shinigami, as really has so much confidence to just be there.
Oh, and there's a reason for that, because as his team is there to back him up, that's going to be out and start taking down first Samanosuke. Sidestep on the Rupture. We did get a turret shot onto the Cho'Gath as well. We have to be so careful. We are almost in execute range as the game playing. Here, the front line in the mid lane. Big is going to be saved by the land. Respite, Demonic, trying to get out as much damage as he can, but the stun comes down. Beautiful timing there. I didn't quite see who managed to land that stun. It probably was the Tarek, honestly. Top Roger going to go in with the Sonic Wave. It is going to go down into the fountain as he does not manage to escape. The stolen pick there for Stream. That's going to get the Alistar temporarily away, and then we're just going to dive in and execute the mid laner underneath the inhibitor turret. The Jin will survive as well. Samanosuke is just hanging out with the Cho'Gath in this bot lane while the base is getting obliterated.
There's that Storm Razor and Ravenous Hydra. It's so hard to stick onto Your Sincerely with that added slow and just so much survivability coming on out. They get to play the game, and ADC gets to play the game, guys. We finally found it. I read an old scroll once that foretold there would come a day where the ADC gets to see the dawn
And that
My
day
God.
clearly is today. The prophecy has been fulfilled, and yours sincerely is the chosen Jin. Now we will see what kind of gameplay we will be getting as the teams group in the South River once again to fight over another dragon. This will be Ocean Soul Point for PSE if they can secure the cannon barrage. Comes out from the pirate to start things off. The dragon getting burned down, and the smite will be good from the top barrage. Right now locked up by the rupture. Oh, look at these low health by the barrel. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Just send him to the bottom of the sea. Samanosake just taking over the team fight once again, making it look easy at that. Shogath, the last survivor, but not for long as Stream Guts gets in there with the chains to finish what is top lane start.
They just got sent to see the Flying Dutchman. Samanosuke with some beautifully placed powder keg. Might just start knocking on these Nexus's door. These towers are going very fast in the chest.
Like the end. It didn't feel like this much of a stop, honestly, Loki, but it turns out it absolutely was one. It's going to be the Manhattan Project at 21 minutes. Take their second Nexus and secure themselves their second win of the season.
Damn. That is incredible. We're seeing the Manhattan Project come online progressively faster in each of those games, almost it felt like, because in game 2, they had some issues. We were cold starting on Model T, but Riddy was able to get it together very fast. Samanosuke a little bit behind, and Stream Guts, he was there, but this game, all of them were just running like a well-oiled machine and absolutely gnashed apart PSE. Spanther looked so good in game 1, but they just continued to just point and laugh and bully him into submission as the timer went on. They just did not have enough in the tank to keep going.
Yeah, and I think it is worth, bringing ourselves back to that game number 1, right, Loki? Because if we remember, that was kind of a weird draft for the Manhattan Project that they had in that game number 1. And they did, it was like that early game snowball comp. And they did manage to actually get the early lead. The problem came when they were a little bit too aggressive with their lead, and they ended up throwing it away to a team that hard outscaled them. But when we take games 2 and 3 into account, when we factor all of that in, it actually really does feel that the Manhattan Project were definitively the better team tonight.
Yeah, they played, honestly, Riddy played the exact same game all 3 games. like let's ignore that for a second. That part, that didn't move. That gear did not change, did not matter what pretty plating you go. They were our control in this experiment. Samanosuke put onto some comfortable champions, just kind of ran away, kind of honestly a sleeper agent as far as what PSE was concerned with. They were like, okay, cool, barrels, whatever, goofy man. Like, he one-shot Demo Nick, it's fine. Like, let's not worry about that for a minute. Very interesting to me that they prioritized banning Belveth, a champion that I have not seen Riddy pick up yet, over getting rid of either the Kindred, which we know had a very definitive mark on that game 2, and matches Riddy's personality as a player very well so far, or even getting rid of another champion of Samanosuke's. We saw quite a few bans going over towards champions like Ornn and a couple other early, like, just standard top laners like Malphite, but I think we could have tailored it a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely. It really did feel, especially after watching the game play out as well, that there was a significant draft edge for TMP here in game number 3. Their answers were just a little bit better, and they had those comfort picks that they're so strong on. That Kindred for Riddy, like you're just saying, Loki, was clearly just such an important pick. And, being able to get that for games 2 and 3 was clearly very, very big for TMP. Commiserations to the side of PS Elementary, of course. They had some good objective control in that third game, and yeah, absolutely, they did play well overall. Especially some members like Panther in that game number 1, and Submit having some really great moments in tonight's match as well. As Top Prodigy coming back in a big way, having a rough game 1, having such an incredibly better performance in that game 2. But in the end, they wanted the soul of the ocean, but the ocean took their soul instead. That's just how it goes sometimes. But we do our last order of business tonight, Loki, is to decide on our player of the match. So we, of course, had Samanosuke and Reddy
Ooh.
as our two front runners in game number two. Are you feeling like one of them is your standout here in game three, or is it Supreme Guts
So
on the 11-1 Silas? Where are you at?
I'm actually gonna slip off to the side. I like Pig Boss
Okay, yeah.
this last game. We didn't talk about it too much, but they had some really good positioning. To like, there were a couple points where they were behind in levels, but they were helping make so many plays happen. And there were more than a couple times where Stream Guts could have gotten shut out, but the Cosmic Radiance was there, the Dazzling Gleam for a nice quick little stun, or just pop a health pot for him real quick, just give him a little bit of that healing factor, and just ran amok with it. I don't think a lot of that early game pressure would have happened had Pig Boss Moo not been there to get that ball rolling. So that's my pick for POG.
I like it. I like it, honestly. I think the Tarek pick itself was really, really big in the draft, and the play was fantastic as well, like you're just saying, Loki, and a beautiful KDA to round it out for Pig 03 and 22. Absolutely incredible for the support player there. And overall, a well deserved win tonight for the Manhattan Project. But Loki, did you have any final thoughts on our match that we watched tonight, or on week three, or the season of the VTS in general?
I honestly, my only thought, I want to see the Magic Dragon. I said it towards the start of us getting ready to go into a break. I want to see Aurelion Sol picked up. I think it's a champion that has a lot of pressure for the general map and could synergize well potentially with the way that Guts, Riddy, and Samanosuke have already been coming together. I think it could slot in pretty nicely as a control mage pickup. I don't think that champion is going to be picked up at any point when we can just give Stream Guts something more aggressive.
Well, you've made your pitch, and maybe if Stream Guts doesn't play it, maybe another team will, right? So there's always that possibility. Hopefully, we'll see some cosmic dragons breathing on people in the relatively near future here in the VTS, but certainly not tonight, as that is going to do it for our show for this evening and for our coverage of week number three. Well, thank you everybody so much for watching. We do need to get our producer some well-deserved rest here. So for myself, from Loki, from Dodger, from the entire production team at Victorious, thank you everybody very much. We will see you back here, same time, same place next week for week 4 of the VTS. Until then, thank you again, and good night.
Bye, ciao.